nutritious meal, and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing bottom line. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird, too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time. It's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs. So I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one. Even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth? You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel? Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver. but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There's only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get her ass!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Yay!
Man. Can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was. Thursday, October 26th, ladies and gentlemen, Thursday night football. We are here live at the Worldwide Sports Radio station. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all the shows, including the Loudmouth, which airs every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do is go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, we are here. We are the Loudmouth. Ladies and gentlemen, Speedy Petey.
Yeah, feeling a little better, so I could be a little bit louder today.
Oh God,
a little bit louder. But
you're
only
never
slightly.
loud. I'm the loud one.
I didn't say I was going to be louder than you.
Well,
if I was going to go louder than you, I'd probably faint.
Well, you need one of those horns if you want to be louder than me.
Exactly.
And one of those horns would definitely work for you, because every time off air, I attack you in every kind of way and everybody that you know, and you don't like it. So I kind of throw those curveballs, and you sit there and you answer the questions every single time, and you say you have selective amnesia. So that's who I am. I am selective. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I completely forget when I attack Speedy throughout the show.
Yeah, and you're also the king of wishful thinking.
Well, that is true. At 8:30, we'll be talking to former Pirates, Rockies, and Cardinals catcher Michael McHenry. He will be joining us. We're very excited to have him on. He's been on a show before, and he will be back on the show as well. At 9 o'clock, we will be talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach Adam Virant. He will be joining us as well. So we're very happy and excited to have him on the show for the first time. SNY's Andy Martino reports that the Yankees have entered discussions with the Padres about trading for Juan Soto. Yippee! As we all know, Derek Jeter has come out during the season last year saying that if the Yankees should go after somebody, it would be Juan Soto. So Juan Soto could be a Yankee. I still am skeptical on it, but we'll see. The Browns rule Deshaun Watson out for week 8. Watson tells reporters it is bull that people believe he doesn't want to play. So, as you know, Deshaun Watson has his own stuff on and off the field, and now he's throwing curveballs to the press that anybody that thinks that he doesn't want to play can kiss his you-know-what. But that's an interesting.
Just as long as it's not a massage parlor, then he might do other things to them.
Well, he should be hanging out with Robert Kraft then.
Yes, he should.
Him and Robert Kraft should be good friends.
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't the Patriots go after him?
Oh, yeah. Once Belichick's gone, that'll be Robert Kraft's retirement. After Belichick retires, that'll be Robert Kraft's plan. He'll take on the last 2 years of that contract.
That is pretty funny. Giants say they will not trade Saquon. The Raiders say they will not trade Devontae Adams at the trade deadline. Latest NFL trade deadline moves and rumors. Senators center Shane Pinto becomes the first NHL player suspended for gambling. He is suspended for 41 games. As everybody knows, we do Let's Parlay every single week, probably around 8:15. We'll have Chaz and Derek and maybe Johnny B. Bad. And NFL Week 8 picks with me and Speedy Petey, which Speedy is up by 1.
Yep, you gained 1 game last week, but I did pick the Giants.
Whoop.
That is keeping me in the lead.
There we go. And listen, I have told you why I've been doing that, but that's a whole nother story. Let's get into the Deshaun Watson thing, because I think this is a great story, by the way. The Browns ruled out Deshaun Watson out of Sunday's game versus the Seahawks with a shoulder injury. Watson played last week versus the Colts, but threw an interception and only completed 1 pass. Watson told reporters Thursday that this is bull to believe that he doesn't want to play. Watson said, I just worked my ass off for 2 years to get back and play. And so why would I want to play? And this is what I've been doing since I was 6 years old. Watson is on his second year of his 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract. Watson in 3 games has 683 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a 61.7 completion percentage, and an 80.9 passer rating. So Deshaun Watson now is, again, shooting his mouth to the press. And this has been Deshaun Watson's mojo for the last couple of years. And we all know the reason why Deshaun Watson was suspended by the NFL last year for about 11 games, came back in week 12 for the Browns, didn't play that well, and so far this year couldn't stay healthy. And he's not the same Deshaun Watson, maybe because, hey, he hasn't been on the field for almost 2 years, but also the things that were going on off the field. And when things go on off the field and his mind isn't in the right place as a quarterback, his game starts to disintegrate. And that's what's going on with Deshaun Watson right now. I think when you look at this story, and listen, I do believe Deshaun Watson believes he's not playing at the top of his game and he needs some time. But right now, the backup quarterback in Walker is playing better than he is. So you sit here and you're paying this guy, and this has been going on over the last couple of years. Kyler Murray being another one. Kyler Murray got a big contract. He had a really, really good season. He lost in the playoffs against the Rams, who, by the way, won the Super Bowl. And everybody was throwing him under the bus, saying that he's all about himself. Then he came back last season and he started talking in a third person. He tears his ACL in the middle of the season, and now he's out practically most of the season. He should be back in the next week or 2. That's just 2 of them. There has been quite a few quarterbacks that has had big contracts and haven't lived up to those contracts. Russell Wilson, who is another one. The Broncos decided to make a trade, traded away all these draft picks. And I'm not saying I think Russell Wilson's been better than both of these guys. That's my opinion. He's had a decent season. But because he's on such a bad team, Sean Payton is screaming at everybody on the sideline. He was throwing Nathaniel Hackett under the bus before the season started. He's doing the same thing Nathaniel Hackett was doing last year. Deshaun Watson has been the center of attention since he's come into the NFL. His college coach came out and said, if you don't draft Deshaun Watson, it's like not drafting Michael Jordan.
Well, we know he's not the brightest mind right now.
Yes, as Clemson hasn't looked very good this year. That's for sure. But if you look at where Deshaun Watson is from what he was before he got hurt, it is an absolute embarrassment. And this has a lot to do with him and what he does on and off the field. If the guy just kept to himself and didn't do the stupid things that he has done over the last couple of years, Deshaun Watson, his game could be flourishing. He could be the best quarterback in the league. I believe the year that he had his best season, where I think he threw 32 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions with a Texas team that was horrific. They had no offensive weapons at all. And he did everything he needed to do to get that team over the hump. And he put up great numbers. He should have been the MVP. I really thought Deshaun Watson was the MVP of the year at that year. But they gave it to, I think, if I'm not mistaken,
Aaron Rodgers.
It was Aaron Rodgers. But Deshaun Watson has not had a season like that since he's come back. The guy can't play. He hasn't been as dominant on and off the field. And really, when he speaks to the press, he has nothing good to say. When you're in front of the press and you know the press is going to attack you in every kind of way, especially the way your game has really been developed with the Browns. And a lot of people thought him going to the Browns and adding Amari Cooper and the coaching staff that they have over there, it was a new start for Deshaun Watson. He was going to figure it out. He was going to be that electrifying quarterback that we remember with the Houston Texans. It hasn't been that way. It's been a problem ever since he was traded here. And they're paying him a ton of money right now. A ton. And when you're being compared to all these quarterbacks that are making almost the same amount as you are, and they're having better seasons, by the way, there's a problem. And I understand the quarterback position and the numbers are going to go up every single year, good or bad. If you're a franchise quarterback, if you're the franchise quarterback for that organization, it doesn't matter if you're better than Lamar Jackson. It doesn't matter if you're better than Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or any of the quarterbacks that are good in the league. Because if the other quarterback last year got $50 million, this year you're going to get $55 million. And right now, it's only going up. Patrick Mahomes is making $53, $54 million a year. So the next quarterback that's going to get that big contract is probably going to get more than Patrick Mahomes, who is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL.
And Deshaun Watson is in a situation right now where it seems like he definitely wants to play to prove himself with this team. Because I think a lot of his downfall with the Texans was issues with the Texans too, in addition to the off-field issues. But Deshaun Watson now is in a good position with a great offensive line, a good deep receiving core, and a coach that's been very good in Kevin Stefanski when it comes to offensive scheming. Now, the problem here is Deshaun Watson and both him and Jimmy Haslam love to run their mouths too. Jimmy Haslam had the fallout with Baker Mayfield and OBJ, and that's a big reason why Deshaun Watson they had to make the trade for. And obviously the contract right now is untradeable because Deshaun Watson has played really bad this year and is making $230 million fully guaranteed, which is something no other quarterback has done. Now, where I do defend Deshaun Watson here is because of the Browns' past dysfunction. I don't blame him from trying to want to play and trying to want to be a good teammate for these guys. At the same time, though, the coaching staff has every reason to say, okay, PJ Walker played well for us against the 49ers, a team that was previously undefeated. Let's go put him into this game when you've already thrown one interception, an interception that got overturned because of the ball just barely hit the ground. But he should have had 2 interceptions in that game. So I don't blame the coaching staff for wanting to think that. Hopefully they can resolve their relationship. Otherwise, it's going to get very ugly for the Browns. Once again, wasting a great roster.
It's not going to be easy to recover everything that has been said over the last couple of weeks by Deshaun Watson on and off the field because he just doesn't get along with the press. He does get along with the people in the locker room. A lot of people like him. I've heard Amari Cooper says nothing but good things about him. We've heard Elijah Moore come out and say that he's my quarterback. We love him, and he's a great leader in the locker room. But when you look at what he is saying to the press, to me, if you're the owner of the team or if you're the GM of the team, are you going to accept a guy that's getting guaranteed money, 5 years, $230 million, and he is so soft-spoken to the press when they're attacking him in every kind of way, saying that he doesn't want to play, his shoulder is injured, or he's saying his shoulder is injured, and he's trying to make excuses on why he can't step on the field. When you have a backup quarterback that nobody's ever heard of, Okay, nobody. And by the way, he probably wouldn't be the backup of quarterback on any other team in the NFL. And he's playing better than you are. And what is he making? $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, and you're not putting up the numbers and he's putting up the numbers? That to me only says one thing. You're 4-2 right now, and it's not because of Deshaun Watson. It's because of a guy named Walker.
Right. And I look at this like the 2014 Browns, too, because the Browns at that time, they're not as talented as this team, but they were surprisingly leading the division at 6-5 with Brian Hoyer as the quarterback. And Johnny Manziel was just drafted that year. A lot of people were saying, oh, they're going to make the move for him because Brian Hoyer wasn't like statistically amazing, but still was efficient, still was good enough. And that's the same kind of thing here. Deshaun Watson is the big name. He's the flash, but PJ Walker just played well. So it's kind of one of those things where it's going to be a weird predicament for the Browns, and you don't want it to get uglier. Now, Deshaun Watson, I do believes that the Browns are misdiagnosing this injury too. And I do believe he's healthier than the Browns are saying he is. But at the same time, you don't need to make a public statement out of it and throw the Browns under the bus, because that's going to create other bad things when it comes to a team culture perspective. Something the Browns have had issues with for the last 20 years since they moved over with the new ownership. And this roster is the best that they've had, even with Nick Chubb hurt and Conklin hurt. This is the best roster they've had probably assembled, and they can't waste it by all this drama. Once again, the same thing that hurt them 2 years ago with Baker and Odell.
And the Browns going into this half of the season, and Jerome Ford is not healthy right now. He's not playing this week. There's a lot of problems right now. And Kareem Hunt has actually stepped up. I'm very surprised the way Kareem Hunt has played over the last 2 weeks. He's figuring things out, and he is becoming that number one guy, the number one target to run the ball. So I don't know where the Browns are going, but I love what the defense is doing right now. They're playing at the top of their games. This is the best defense in football right now. Yep. Yes, the number one overall defense in all of football. You're talking about San Francisco, the New York Jets, all the teams that everybody keeps talking about, the Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Atlanta Falcons, all these teams that we have mentioned over the last couple of weeks. This is the number one defense right now in football. And they're getting a good enough quarterback play by PJ Walker where they don't need Deshaun Watson to play. And that says a lot about this team. This organization has been an absolute joke. When we talk about organizations in the league that you just have to laugh about, over the last 15 years, I give you 3 of the biggest ones. The Jets, I'm going to say it, the Browns, and the Raiders, okay? Those are the 3 organizations over the last couple of years that have been absolute jokes in the NFL and laughing stocks because of the ownership and the way the team is run. Now, obviously, the transition of the Jets over the last 2 or 3 years has been good, and we'll see what Robert Saleh can do if Aaron Rodgers comes back or if Zach Wilson actually figures how to throw a football. Who knows? But right now, when you look at the NFL and you look at these teams, the Browns and the Jets are starting to really figure things out. And even though Deshaun Watson isn't the guy and PJ Walker is, they're finding a way to win. The Jets are finding a way to win with Zach Wilson. Who would have thought that the Jets would be 3-3 going into their bye week and going against the New York Jets this week? I mean, the New York Giants this week. There's a lot of opportunity with both of these teams. And the Browns this week, if they win, they'll be 5-2. And I'm telling you, me and practically everybody trying to compare and contrast these divisions, nobody would have thought right now the Browns would be 4-2 and maybe even 5-2.
And again, they've beaten some other good teams too that have helped them elevate their game, like the 49ers. They beat the Bengals at the beginning of the year. And granted, the Bengals started slow, but still they're a talented team. And if they go and beat Seattle, like in Seattle, which again has gotten easier in the last couple of years, but still, Seattle's a good team as well. They're still trying to find their way on defense a little bit with some injuries, but they're a good team. So the Browns with PJ Walker at quarterback, a guy that was an XFL guy, a guy that was brought in from Carolina with Matt Rule because he played at Temple. Like that is very little experience in the NFL. And to be able to do that just shows how good the roster can be. And that can make a difference with the NFL trade deadline as well, where the Browns can actually be somewhat aggressive if they want to be.
And here's the thing. The division is so wide open. And we were saying how good this division was going to be this year. Might be the best division in football. Right now, it looks like it is the best division in football. The Ravens are 5-2. The Steelers are 4-2. The Browns are 4-2. The Bengals are figuring things out. They're 3-3. I think they're only going to get better as Joe Burrow gets better. So I just think that this division is going to be wide open. I could see 3 teams coming out of this division as good as this division is playing. So we thought the AFC East was going to be a high-powered division. I don't think the AFC East is as good as everybody thought it was going to be. And then you look at even the AFC South. I think a lot of these teams have overachieved. The Colts have overachieved. The Texans have overachieved. The Jaguars are playing good football. I think they've won 5 games or 4 games in a row. And we expected this. When Trevor Lawrence was, started the season off slow, eventually he was going to pick things up. Doug Peterson was going to run his offense through the running game. And now Travis Etienne has been just explosive over the last couple of weeks. And then there's the Chiefs division, as they have been handed the keys to the NFL. As we know, the Swifties are run by the Kansas City Chiefs. So the NFL is loving the way the growth of the league is coming, because you have guys like Taylor Swift, or girls like Taylor Swift dating guys like Travis Kelce, and just really taking the league by storm. So I think where you look at the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns, it is wide open this year, including the Bengals in the AFC North.
Right. And the Browns and the Steelers are both still with the question marks on offense, too. With this offense for the Browns without Nick Chubb being more of a running attack over the years. The Steelers, can they actually find a competent offensive coordinator and quarterback play, will be another question for them. Bengals, it's more on defense. And the Ravens, they're probably the most balanced right now because their defense has played a lot better than last year. I was skeptical with the way their pass rush was, but I think they're second in the league in sacks right now, too. And Lamar Jackson against the Lions looked like the best quarterback in the league. That was maybe the best performance of his career.
The Eagles acquired all-pro safety Kevin Bard from the Titans for safety Terrell Edmonds and 5th and a 6th round draft pick next year's NFL draft. The Titans have mentioned both Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins are available for trade. The Broncos traded Randy Gregory to the 49ers for a 7th round pick, but weren't able to trade Frank Clark and cut him. He signed back with the Seahawks. The Giants say they are not trading Saquon Barkley at this year's trading deadline. The Raiders say they're not trading Devontae Adams at this year's trading deadline, but they never said Jacobs. The Jets are likely to trade Dalvin Cook at the trade deadline. The Vikings confirmed that they will not trade Kirk Cousins at the trade deadline, who does not want to be waived, or he does not want to waive his no trade clause. And by the way, after their win against the 49ers. So I will say this. Kirk Cousins, I'm very surprised, doesn't want to waive his no-trade clause, because he has a chance to go to a team that has a chance to possibly go and make a run to the Super Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings, as good as they looked against the 49ers last week, they're not a good defensive team. They're not. The 49ers just played a lousy game, and in the second half, I think they had their heads up their ass. They just did not play well. And the defense that was so good over the first 4 games of the season, the last 2 weeks have not been. And Brock Purdy is human. He is not Tom Brady. For anybody that came out and thought that Brock Purdy was going to be Tom Brady is a big man, has a great arm, and he was an unusual type of player. Brock Purdy, he sees the field very, very well. He doesn't have a good arm. He's not good inside and out of he's not good outside of the pocket. He has good pocket presence, and he fits the mold of what the 49ers run. That's what he is. He's an efficient quarterback. So you sit here, and Brock Purdy hasn't looked good for the last 2 weeks, and it could get worse. The 49ers are a Super Bowl contender. Some people say they're the most talented team going into this season. Now you lost back-to-back games. You're not even the number 1 team right now in the NFC when you were talked about over the last couple of weeks as the best team in the NFL. You're not even the best in the NFC right now. Brock Purdy could fall off in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and they could be looking for a quarterback to fill in this position. And it's not going to be a guy that sees ghosts, okay? It's not going to be Sammy Baby.
I don't know. He might have to play this week. Brock was in concussion protocol.
Well, I believe Brock Purdy will play. Okay. I know there were stories coming out that there's a good chance he might not play. He will play this week. It's a game time decision. He will play. He will pass protocol tomorrow, and they'll say that he still has headaches, he'll be a game time decision. He will definitely play. They're not going to start Sam Darnold.
Not against the Bengals.
Definitely not. And the Bengals have a chance to really make a statement this week, because if the 49ers lose back-to-back-to-back games, now you're talking about the San Francisco 49ers completely falling off. And nobody would have thought, with the talent that they have, and listen, they lost Samuel for a couple of weeks. It seems like it's definitely hurt them. McCaffrey is not 100%, but he looked like he was 100% last week.
He started a little slow in the first half, but got it going in the second.
I think there's a lot of problems here. I think the 49ers are not as good as everybody thinks they are. Now, Williams is hurt too. And Trent Williams is the best left tackle in football. And that affects their line. And it has affected Brock Purdy's, vision on the field, because he doesn't have enough time to release the ball. And you could see last week that was a big problem against the Minnesota Vikings, a team that's not very good pass rush wise.
Right. And I think the Vikings now realize that too, that they could still win with their offense and try to rebuild their defense in the mold of Brian Flores, the way that you saw Mike Zimmer do in the past too. The Vikings had a very talented defense before Mike Zimmer, with guys like Jared Allen and Kevin Williams and guys like that. They let a lot of those guys go, and he built it in his own mold. And now I think they're going to do the same thing. And that's why I don't think Kirk Cousins will be the one that ends up getting traded. I think he likes playing with Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson mentioned at the start of the year.
So you think they're going to sign him next year?
I do. I think they're going to give him like a 2 or 3 year deal.
I think they draft a quarterback.
I don't know if they're going to be as bad as that to draft a quarterback. I think now they've proven they could at least be a competitive team. I don't think they're a playoff team either, but I think they could at least be a 7-8 win team where they're going to be kind of in that middle mold. Maybe they draft a quarterback to start in 2 years, and maybe they groom him under Cousins, and then maybe we'll see how it goes from there. But Cousins has played statistically well enough where I think they trust him, and I think they're going to spend that money on some younger defensive players, those draft stock on some younger defensive players, because Brian Flores is there. I think he's proven himself well with the Dolphins in the past with less talent, and he's going to get to draft his own guys. I think Daniil Hunter, maybe Harrison Smith will be traded, guys like that.
I think where you look at the trade deadline, you want to get better. That's where you're looking for those players that can fill in certain spots that can make your team better. And right now, the Vikings could still make the playoffs. I mean, the conference is so bad. If they go on a winning streak and they win 2 or 3 games in a row, they can actually still win their division. Now, the Lions look like they're the real deal, so it's going to be hard to chase them. But the Green Bay Packers stink. Okay, they stink. And practically the rest of that division is just horrible. The Chicago Bears, horrible. They're probably going to be getting the number 1 and number 2 pick next year from Carolina and themselves. I mean, this team is not going to be good. And Justin Jefferson, we don't know when he's coming back. They did win last week. They did. They pulled off a win, but they played a crappy Vegas team. All right. And Davante Adams, the story about Davante Adams being traded, we knew he wasn't going to get traded in the middle of the season. I told the Jet fans, he's not going to the Jets. The Jets have no chance to get him. Okay. They have no chance of getting him. So I think that in the offseason, I could see Vegas moving on from him. But he is going to go somewhere where you could probably get a first and a second, because Davante Adams is going to be worth that. When you look at him, he's still fairly young, he's still explosive, and he can still put up the numbers, even with the bad quarterback play with the Vegas Raiders. So he's still capable of doing the things that he's capable of doing. He's going to be very costly to a team and an organization. I could tell you this: the Patriots could absolutely use Davante Adams. Oh, yeah. They could use him. There are quite a few teams that could be very, very interested in a guy like Davante Adams, but they're going to wait when obviously the draft is around the corner, where they can get the most out of getting from him. So
the pattern right now, I think, is getting those elite wide receivers to help out a younger quarterback, a quarterback that's rising right now. You saw the Bills do that with Stephon Diggs when they traded for him. Josh Allen took a step in the second half of the 2019 season, but wasn't considered an elite quarterback. 2020, they trade for Diggs. Allen becomes an elite quarterback. Obviously, the Bengals did that, drafting Jamar Chase when they drafted Joe Burrow, made that kind of thing happen. And the Eagles did that recently with A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts nearly wins an MVP. I think the pattern for that kind of team could fall for Davante Adams to be traded there with a team that has a younger quarterback that wants to take a step up. If they're a borderline team, you could see it. You mentioned the Patriots definitely being a possibility.
How about Arizona? They have a lot, and if he goes over there, he kind of hides, because Arizona is still rebuilding. So Why would he be traded to a team where you're going to have to see him a couple of times in the next 2 or 3 years? I don't think Vegas is going to want to see him. I don't think Green Bay is going to want to see him. So he could be traded to Arizona. Maybe he gets traded to the AFC, the Broncos.
I can see the Steelers.
The Steelers?
Because I think they need that number one guy. I know Pickens is good and Johnson is good, but I don't think either one of them right now are number one guys. So you get Adams there to be that number one guy. Then Pickens could be the big body guy, good spectacular catch guy, and Deontay Johnson could be that slot guy. That makes a lot of sense. I could see a team like the Atlanta Falcons as well too, with the lack of depth they have with the wide receivers too, going alongside London. And if they want to use him, Kyle Pitts properly, then they could do that as well. So there's definitely options, and I think that because of that pattern, the Raiders definitely should look for the offseason as well. If they squeak into the playoffs, I don't think it's going to happen.
Saquon Barkley not being traded is not surprising to me. I do believe he will be going elsewhere in the offseason. The Giants could franchise him and then move him and get something for him, but they're not going to get much for him if they wait until the offseason. They could get more right now. They could probably get a second-round draft pick for a guy like Saquon Barkley right now if they move him. So it doesn't make any sense on why they're deciding to keep him unless the Giants believe they're going to make the playoffs. That's the only reason why they're thinking about keeping Saquon Barkley. This offense cannot be run without Saquon Barkley. We know that. Look at their offense with him on the field and without him. They have a losing record without him and a winning record with him. So this team can't do without him. And that tells me that Joe Schoen doesn't know what he's doing. Because if he knew this and he has seen the offense just completely fall apart when he's not on the roster, then you would know to give him that extension. Give him at least 2 years, $14 million a year. That's what I would have done. Make him happy, give him what he wants, and then give him some incentives to put up the numbers, better numbers than he thought he was going to have those 2 years. So there's a lot of questions on why Saquon wasn't signed in the offseason. I understand they don't want to pay running backs, but guess what? When you have a running back that is your best player and the offense is run 60% of the time through him and is helping your quarterback, which by the way, you paid him $40 million a year for the next 2 years, and you cannot trade him until those 2 years are up or even let him go. Yeah. Your team is right now, behind the 8 ball, and it doesn't really make sense where the Giants are. So it makes sense why they should trade him because they can get more. But obviously Joe Schoen realized they can't win without him.
Right. And this is the mistake the Giants made, too, because they also were in rumors for wide receiver trades last year, too. Everyone talks about T. Higgins or Gabe Davis or somebody like that to the Giants now. They could have also done that last year, too, when the Bengals were still trying to make money work. You had the 49ers of Brandon Ayuk, who just got his 5th-year option, I think, before the draft. That could have been available for trade. Maybe include Saquon Barkley in a deal for that if you knew that you weren't going to hang on to him, because it seems like Joe Schoen and the direction of this front office did not want him anyway. Now, at this trade deadline, you're dealing with a running back market that is very thin. There's not a lot of contending teams that need running backs. I mean, you look at Atlanta, they don't need a running back. Seattle and the 49ers in the NFC. Eagles obviously don't need anything. And the AFC, we thought Miami did, but a Chance played very well and Mostert's played very well. They're not going to need it. Buffalo needs too much on defense now. I think they're out on that kind of thing. So where is he going to go? He's going to get good value.
It makes a lot of sense with Derrick Henry going to Buffalo. If somehow Buffalo can pull off a trade with the Titans, and the Titans pretty much gave away Kevin Bard, okay?
Yeah.
They practically handed him over. Yes, handed him over to the Philadelphia Eagles. It said, here you go. Here's another secondary player that you can use in your offense. And it's been going on for the last couple of years with Philadelphia and the Titans. So it seems like they're in cahoots with each other.
Oh, yeah. They could get an assistance if the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
But Derrick Henry is available, and I do believe they're not planning to re-sign him in the offseason. And he's not having the season that he's had over the last couple of years, but he's still efficient. And if he goes to Buffalo, that's something that the Buffalo Bills have been missing, a power running back that could be everything to your offense. And the way the offense is played over the last couple of weeks, you're going to need an efficient running back that can absolutely bulldoze on a defensive line.
Right. The Derrick Henry to the Bills makes sense because the Bills also need that in the cold weather, too. We saw them really struggle against the Bengals because they could not run the ball. Now, James Cook has had a nice year. So Derrick Henry going there, he might not be the every down back that he used to be because he's had the injury issues. And like you said, has not had the season that he's had. But the Bills also have to realize they need so much on defense. And the Titans have to realize that Derrick Henry's value to fall. And I heard a lot of teams were worried about the remainder of his contract, $5 million player, for a guy that's going to be a rental too. And that's going to hurt his value, where I don't know if you're going to get more than a 4th round pick at this point. So maybe Buffalo swoops on that too. And that's going to hurt his value too. And like I said, already thin running back market for a lot of these AFC East, maybe the Browns in the AFC North, but still you're looking at a thin running back market, which is not good for Saquon, which is not good for the Raiders with Josh Jacobs as well, and Derrick Henry with the Titans.
I think when you look at DeAndre Hopkins, he's a guy that wanted to go back to the Titans. There were quite a few other teams interested in him in the offseason. It hasn't worked out over there. They're starting Will Levis this week. So it tells you that they're starting to tell everybody that they're rebuilding. Tannehill could be traded. I don't know who wants a guy like Tannehill, but Tannehill could be a good backup if a team loses a quarterback closer to the playoffs and they're a playoff contender. But Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins are guys that are definitely going to be open to be traded. It makes a lot of sense on why the Titans are starting to believe that they're going to have to rebuild. I think Vrabel is going to be gone at the end of the season. I think they're going to be an absolute rebuild stage for this Titans team. So I don't see the Titans moving forward with this team and this organization with some of the players and obviously some of the execs, because I think the GM's going to get fired. I think trading A.J. Brown absolutely killed him. A.J. Brown was everything to that offense. Look at what he's doing for Philadelphia. You saw Vrabel's face when they traded him in the draft a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You saw his face when they traded him. It was nonsense. It didn't make any sense. And now you look at this team, now they're throwing away pieces that were good, and their defense going into the season was expected to be a top 10 defense. Now you're trading away an all-pro safety. You're thinking about trading this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. It doesn't make any sense. Now you're telling the fans that you're rebuilding. So I feel bad for this organization, because this was a good football organization for the last couple of years and a playoff contending organization. And now they've completely fallen off. And that has a lot to do with the GM and the mistakes that he's made. And Vrabel, I think Vrabel's a good coach. Yeah. If he does get fired, somebody's going to hire. So next year he'll be hired somewhere else. I've said this again, that Bill Belichick is not going to be gone until sometime next year if he has a start of a really bad season.
Right.
But if Bill Belichick isn't the guy for the future, they could bring in Vrabel. Vrabel is a successful coach. He's never won a Super Bowl, but as a coach, but he's been a successful coach. And maybe, he knows the Bill Belichick way. He knows the Patriot way because he was a Patriot. So he is a good coach. I just don't know if the Titans are going to stick with him or keep him in the loop if they decide to rebuild.
Yeah, I think just because you have a new GM going in this direction too, like you said, John Robinson really had trouble with those trades and those big contracts at the end of his regime. And kind of like you saw with Atlanta and Minnesota with their GMs too. They had good rosters. They just couldn't hold everybody. And I think the Titans are getting to that point now too, with Kevin Byard now getting traded, Denico Autry, their defensive lineman, veteran guy that could get traded as well. And with Derrick Henry, you're now trading him in a very low value. Hopkins, I've heard, could still maybe get a later second round pick, because you're right. There are some playoff contending teams that are interested. Buffalo, obviously, in the offseason, the Chiefs and the Patriots were interested in him during the season, but obviously I don't know if they would do that now. But still, his market's going to be there. But you're right. Vrabel is definitely somebody that should get another job easily, because I don't think the issues with the Titans have stemmed through him. It's just a matter of this quarterback play just really not being there for them right now in a passing league. And Tannehill, I think it's going to be a next to impossible contract to trade. I think the only team I could see trading for him just because he knows the scheme is Atlanta right now, because there's still question marks with Desmond Ridder.
I will say this with the Jets, Dalvin Cook is going to be gone. It hasn't worked out for him. And again, I still think Dalvin Cook has something left in him. I just don't know if he fits in this offense. When you have Breece Hall, you have Israel coming back, a kid that looked really, really good in the preseason. He's getting healthy. And you still have Michael Carter. And again, I just didn't think that it made any sense going into the season to bring in Dalvin Cook. Now, I understand that that's what Aaron Rodgers wanted, but Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback right now. It's Zach Wilson. And Dalvin Cook has not been a good blocking back either. So I think where you're looking at the way the Jets are moving forward with this team in the second half, they're going to run the ball with Breece and try to get the ball to Garrett Wilson. And Carl Lawson is another guy that could be on his way out too. He is 100% healthy. He's been a healthy scratch over the last couple of weeks. I mean, he has played a little bit here and a little bit there, but the Jets don't have anywhere to put him. They have a lot of youngsters. Johnson has won the job from him. I mean, these young players that they have drafted over the last couple of years are starting to fill in. Jefferson has been a good signing for them. Wood has been a good signing for them. So, yeah, and Huff too. I mean, Huff has been there since he's undrafted player, but Huff was a guy that Joe Douglas found. And Huff is going to get a lot of money in the offseason, and probably not from the Jets, because I don't know if the Jets are going to be able to afford him because they have to pay Elijah Vera-Tucker, who, by the way, isn't healthy. He's out for, again, another season. And they're going to have to pay other players. Mekhi Becton, another guy that they're going to have to franchise and maybe extend him. So there's a lot of questions where the Jets are going to be able to put their money and really in whose pocket, especially when they're going to have to pay Aaron Rodgers next year about $60 million.
Right. That's what hurt the Jets when it comes to the cap restructuring system that they did, and now him getting hurt this year. Now, obviously, they can restructure it again. Joe Douglas can try to make it work, but it's still going to be harder to do it the second time around. And yeah, I think Lawson is the obvious obvious cap casualty when it comes to teams needing edge rushers. Edge rushing market is going to be very tough as it is. There's a lot of competition. I mentioned Neil Hunter before. Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers, definitely another one, but teams could never have enough edge rushing depth. And you look at premier positions, we talk about quarterbacks, receivers, corners, but pass rush and offensive line is always going to be thought of first too. And that's why I think this market's still going to be good for somebody like Lawson, where maybe the Jets can get a third round pick probably with his deal. Dalvin Cook, I think, is going to be a little harder to move right now.
I don't think so, because the Jets aren't going to get anything for him. What are they going to get? A 5th round draft pick for Dalvin Cook?
At most, I would say a 5th round pick. But like I said, I just think it's harder with these other running back markets just being very tough. I think he would go in maybe a platoon role.
Would the Jets trade him to Buffalo to play with his brother?
Maybe. I mean, it's worth considering. I don't know if the Jets would want to trade him in division. But
why? What does it matter?
I don't think it matters either. I just don't know if they would.
Maybe Buffalo gives him a 4th round draft pick. I don't know.
They could incentivize it further. That is interesting to think if the Jets would try to push Buffalo a little extra, because the Jets are right now half a game back of them right now. And
it doesn't matter, because if Buffalo loses tonight and the Jets win this week, they're right in front of them.
Right. I think the incentive is there to trade Dalvin Cook for the Jets for sure. I just don't know where the market is unless they will take it on in just a platoon role with the way he's played this year. Because again, a lot of these other teams are going to be trading for running backs right now are in similar circumstances to the Jets, where they have a lot of offensive line injuries. Buffalo has some of those too. The only team that would have made sense for it is the Chiefs, but Pacheco's played very well this year, so I don't know if they're going to be trading for a running back as well. And in the NFC, there's just not a lot of teams. The top 5 teams in the NFC all have good running games right now.
SNY's Andy Martino reports that the Yankees have entered talks with the Padres about potentially trading for Juan Soto. Reports have said that the Padres will be looking to shed payroll in 2024. Soto is on his final year of arbitration at 25 years old and is expected to get an arbitration deal worth about $30 million. Martino compares this potential trade to Mookie Betts' deal with the Dodgers, where the Yankees might not have to trade their 2 top prospects, Volpe and Dominguez. The Dodgers also gave up big contracts of David Price in the deal, and the Yankees might be looking to do that or do the same with Anthony Rizzo's contract. Soto had a .275 batting average, .410 on-base percentage, 35 home runs, and 109 RBIs last season. Derek Jeter, okay, when he obviously parted ways and started working for Fox with Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz, when they were asking him, what would you do if you were the GM of the Yankees this past season at the trade deadline? And he said, trade for Juan Soto. The Yankees did not think that was possible. And now going into the offseason, it doesn't look like the Yankees have any chance at Ohtani. I never thought that they did. No. And Juan Soto looks like could be another player like a Giancarlo Stanton, where a team is just trying to shed a contract and a player where the Padres could say, you know what? We don't want your 2 best players. We'll take Pereza. We'll take this guy, that guy, and a couple other players in your AA or AAA, and we'll make the trade. Juan Soto would be an absolute upgrade at right field for the New York Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton would be an everyday DH. He's a better everyday DH. I know everybody keeps saying his numbers are better in the field than he is as a DH. He's getting older.
That's one of the weirdest splits ever anyway.
He's getting older. And Giancarlo Stanton is not going to be able to be moved. He has another, I think, 4 years or 3 years left on that contract. He's making more money at the tail end of his contract. So the Yankees are going to have to pay him. Juan Soto is coming up on his final arbitration year. So next year, the Yankees are going to have to pay him. So he's going to make about, if he has a good year with the Yankees, he's going to make about 450 million. Will the Yankees be willing to do that? But I will tell you this, Garrett Cole, if he has another good season this year, is going to opt out of that contract with the Yankees because he could get even more money. If the Yankees do go after Yamamoto, which it has been said that they're interested, he's their number one target. If they go after Yamamoto and they bring him in, if Garrett Cole decides to opt out of the contract, the Yankees would not bring him back. He's making $38 million, and they can invest that money into Juan Soto.
Yeah, and I think that getting the talks started to get through every scenario that could possibly happen too, because while I don't know if the Padres are going to want to take on Anthony Rizzo's contract in order to
It's
make
1
this
year's
trade
left.
work,
It's 1 year left on the contract.
I think from the Padres perspective, they could be looking at more pitching from the Yankees too. Now they're not obviously getting a top guy, but they need a lot of depth. Maybe the Yankees could shed a lot of the veteran guys.
Would you trade King for him?
I would consider it. The King is a valuable asset that I would try to keep if I could, but if it's the last thing that the Padres want, maybe I would. But that's something that I think the Padres did not have enough of. They had good top end guys, but they might be losing Blake Snell. They might be losing Josh Hader this offseason. And they lacked a lot of the depth after that with Musgrove.
I think Hader's going to go to the Mets. I've been saying that.
Yeah.
And if the Mets miss out on Yamamoto, they're going to try to really rebuild that bullpen. With Diaz coming back, you have Hader and Diaz on your back end. You're in a really good position. It doesn't matter what starting pitcher you bring in. Right. But I do believe Fried could be available at this offseason, maybe in trade. I don't think the Braves will trade with him, but he will become available because I think he's not
he's arbitration eligible.
But next year he will be a free agent.
Yep.
And I don't think the Braves are going to extend him. So he could be available. I don't know if the Mets are ready to win it because as the Mets have come out and said, and we've heard it, they're not going to win this year. Stearns already said that it's going to take a little bit to rebuild. It looks like Craig Counsell, right? Craig Counsell is the new manager of this team, which everybody expected. Everybody knew that when Stearns was coming here and Counsell was on his way out with Milwaukee, he was going to the Mets. And this is only going to help the Mets because Counsell really works very well with the youngsters. So I think the Mets are going to have at least 1 year of rebuilding, and then I think it'll be the year after where I think they will re-up in free agency and make this team a lot better. They have a bunch of good young players in their farm system. They've boosted up their farm system over the last 2 years in trade. So I think that where you look at the Mets and what the Mets are trying to do, and the Yankees are looking to win now. So I know a lot of Yankee fans were not very nice to Juan Soto when he came to Yankee Stadium. I was there. I did not like how the Yankee fans were saying nasty things to him and booing him. But Juan Soto is going to live and forget when it comes to that. Because if you go to Yankee Stadium, you get to play in pinstripes, and you get to play in front of the Yankee fans. You get to play in the lineup with Aaron Judge and even Giancarlo Stanton, which he has said was one of his heroes growing up. It's a different outlook to where you are as a visiting player and as a home player. So I think he absolutely fits Yankee Stadium as a glove. I mean, you're talking about he hit 35 home runs in a big ballpark
Career high last year.
Yes, he hit 35 home runs. Do you know how many home runs he could hit next year in Yankee Stadium as a left-handed power hitter? So it makes sense what the Yankees are trying to do. The guy is a tremendous hitter in the playoffs. The Yankees have not had a guy hit like that in a very long time, since Alex Rodriguez, if you really look at
the
it.
1 year of Alex
But
Rodriguez.
it doesn't matter.
I know.
He hit very well in that year. I don't remember the last time a Yankee or Derek Jeter or Bernie Williams. I don't think that the Yankees have had hitters like that in the playoffs. This guy has been a proven playoff hitter. And for a guy to put him in the outfield where you have an outfield, Dominguez could be back at the end of next year. If you don't have to trade Dominguez, your outfield is Jason Dominguez, who they call the alien, who's a switch hitter. You have Juan Soto for the future of your right field, and then you have Aaron Judge as your left fielder. I mean, you have the best, I believe, outfield in baseball.
And that's why I think the Yankees are trying to start this now, because Juan Soto is also not like a lot of the other superstars they've either tried to sign in free agency or tried to trade for, because Juan Soto doesn't strike out and has a really good on-base percentage. And the Yankees have had issues with strikeouts for years. I know there were stretches where the Yankees were like, oh, their strikeout rate is actually not as bad. But It turned around in the second half of the season. The Yankees fell off back to where they normally were. So Juan Soto is the prototypical opposite of every other type of star they've tried to bring in too. So which is why the Yankees definitely should try to push for that. And I think they should try to make the Anthony Rizzo contract move work, because you look at what the Dodgers did with David Price. They didn't have to trade Gavin Lux or Walker Buehler or Dustin May because the Red Sox took on David Price's contract. They didn't have to give up as much. Verdugo was the biggest one, and then Jeter Downs was the other one. So if the Yankees maybe try to make that work, maybe they don't have to give up as much as you think.
Anthony Rizzo is just an add-in piece, and Anthony Rizzo has 1 year left on that Yankee contract. They extended him for 2 years. So even if they have to trade a guy like Anthony Rizzo in this trade, do you think the Padres are going to cry about it? What they'll do is they'll take the contract on, and then they'll dump him, and then he'll go wherever he wants. So maybe he goes back to the Yankees after that. Yeah. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So I think that the Yankees' thought here is you bring in a guy like Juan Soto, you boost up your lineup automatically. You put him in the middle of your lineup with those three guys. You trade Gleyber Torres. You move Volpe. And then you decide what you're doing at the shortstop position. Is Volpe the shortstop, or he's the future second baseman of this team? You start bringing up some of these young players that you have in your farm system. And then you could probably, sometime during the season, if possible, bring in a veteran third baseman that could still play defense and give you enough when it comes to power at that position. So I think they're set in certain positions. I think their bullpen might need to be add a couple arms to that bullpen. I don't think Hader makes sense for the Yankees.
No, they don't go for one big swing. It hasn't worked for them in the past.
No, so I think that makes more sense for the Mets, and I could see Hader going to the Mets. Especially when Stearns is there. Stearns was the guy that was a part of drafting him. So, and Counsell was a guy that was coaching him and managing him. So it makes a lot of sense why Hader would want to go to the Mets. It doesn't make any sense why Hader would go to the Yankees. So I think the Soto thing is obviously growing legs. I think the Yankees are going to push for this. The Ohtani thing, obviously, there's no play on that. And I still think the Yankees, even if they bring in Juan Soto, is definitely a play for Yamamoto, because Yamamoto is a guy that could change your pitching staff automatically for the Yankees. And like I said, Garrett Cole could opt out of his contract if he has another good season. Who won the Cy Young?
So they didn't announce it yet. They announced it after the postseason.
Right now, he's a top 3 guy. And he's going to have a chance to win a Cy. If he wins a Cy Young this year, he is absolutely, even if he has a decent season next year, he's absolutely going to opt out of that contract, because he's going to believe that he can make that $44 million a year. And I know the Yankees aren't going to extend him on that.
I think the only competition really for Garrett Cole for the Cy Young is Sonny Gray, but Sonny Gray didn't pitch well in the last month of the regular season, so Cole might steal it from him there too. But the other thing that works out well for the Yankees is the Padres are not as low on the when you look at the Red Sox with Mookie Betts trade, they were really bad that year. They won the World Series 2 years before that, but they were really bad that year. The Padres were not a bad team. It was just more of the fact that they lost a lot of close games. Their run differential was still very good. And I think because of that, they could still try to trade for players that could help them now. Why? If the Yankees are going to try to trade Gleyber Torres, that could actually make sense in return for that kind of deal. Gleyber Torres is still one of the more powerful second basemen in the league. They could take on some pitchers, some younger pitchers that could help their pitching depth as a whole. They don't have to trade as many prospects as a result. They're still going to have to trade some prospects, because you look at the return value that the Padres are giving to the Nationals. It's not going to be that, but it's still going to have some warrant, some good things. But the Padres are still in position where they could still be a good team with the money that they already spent, where they still might be able to go some pieces and win now. Now, the Yankees might have to re-sign some guys too. If they do, they're not going to bring back Montas or Severino probably, but maybe some of their other depth pitchers could go back in that deal, especially if they do sign Yamamoto too. And that's where I think it could make a difference, that the Padres are not like this purging everything type of team. I know AJ Preller said he's going to sign payroll, but how much are they able to make it work?
And I think Yamamoto is a guy that a lot of teams are going to be interested in, including the Dodgers when he becomes available. He and Seattle definitely. Mm-hmm. If they make a move for Ohtani, there is stories coming out that Seattle is going to make a move for him. Ichiro is definitely going to be involved with that. And obviously, if he decides to stay in LA, the Giants are another team that could get Yamamoto and Ohtani. He wants to play with another Japanese superstar. We'll see what happens. That doesn't mean that he'll choose any of those teams to play with, Ohtani or Senga or whatever. He is going to go to the team that he thinks he has the best chance to win. Okay. And again, I think that Yamamoto was the Yankees' number 1 guy. So the Yankees are going to make a push. They made a big push for Ohtani. It didn't work. Ohtani wanted to stay in the West Coast. And Yamamoto could be the same type of guy. He might want to stay on the West Coast. He doesn't want to play for the Yankees. He'd rather play for the Mets. So there's a lot of questions on where he's going to go. He is the big offseason acquisition for every guy, every team when it comes to a GM or even an owner, because even though there's a couple of really good pitchers that are going to be available this year, Yamamoto right now on paper is the best one. He's 24 years old. He is by far the most talented guy we've seen come out of Japan since Shohei Ohtani. So, and they're saying he's a better pitcher than Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
So he doesn't hit, but he can pitch just as well or even better. So you're talking about a guy that can win a Cy Young, could win an MVP one day as a pitcher.
Two teams not to sleep on either with the Yamamoto sweepstakes too, because they also recently signed Japanese hitters as well. The Cubs, who just signed Suzuki last year, who do need pitching depth as well. Justin Steele pitched very well for them this year, as did Stroman, but Stroman's a free agent too, so they might not bring him back. But regardless, they need depth. And then the Red Sox, who got Yoshida, who's probably not going to win Rookie of the Year because of Josh Young, but was a very good player for them last year and badly need young pitching.
You know what's so funny? I'm reading Jeff and I'm reading Kenny and everything. I promised Kenny owed me a dinner for years.
5 years ago, I know.
For years. And I said that I would give Kenny what I said I was going to do for him. We were waiting for Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs owes us. When I get things taken care of, he will get it. I don't owe Jeff $1,000. I never made a bet with Jeff. Jeff always calls out. Jeff never pays up his bets, okay? Jeff is what you call a delusion idiot, okay? That's what he is. That's what he is, a deluded, delusional idiot.
Maybe what you should do is print $1,000 of counterfeit money and then lay it in the pile of dog crap that Jeff was supposed to eat.
Yeah, well, Jeff, and again, I don't push anybody to do things that I think would hurt him. And I didn't push him to eat dog crap, even though he should have. He should have. And I don't bring it up. You brought it up. So it just tells me.
We brought it up to our guests, too.
It shows me and it tells me who Jeff is. Jeff is a loser, okay? He is what do they call those guys that go on everybody's show and just says whatever he wants because he hides behind the camera? What do they call
troll?
That's what he is. He's a big troll. He's a fat troll, a 6'3" fat troll that should and always be the person that sits on his ass and eats the Twinkies that he eats. So he could say whatever he wants. I don't give a crap what Jeff says. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't owe you nothing. If anything, you owe me, buddy. You owe me. And you crying that you're not coming on, or nobody lets you on, and everybody coming out like Matty Caps all of a sudden showing up and saying, "Where's Jeff?" And then Snug crying about you. You got your chance, you got your thing, and all of a sudden, when you get what you want, all you do is troll. That's all you do, man. You're a loser. And that's why I don't even waste my time even reading stupid stuff by you. But I don't owe you nothing. If anything, you owe me, buddy. Okay? And that's all I'm going to say.
By the way, guys, I don't know enough about Premier League to make bets. Maybe our betting guys will.
Don't listen to them. They're just being idiots. That's what they do all the time. The NHL announced that the Ottawa Senators center, Shane Pinto, has been suspended for 41 games for violating the league's gambling rules. According to the NHL's collective bargaining agreement, gambling on NHL games is prohibited. Players are permitted to gamble on other sports if they choose to do so. However, there is no distinct proof that Pinto definitively bet on NHL games. Pinto has not played an NHL game this season and is a restricted free agent looking for a new contract. Pinto had 20 goals and 15 assists last season for the Ottawa Senators. I have said this, and I will say it again. Players should be able to bet on games, not their own games, but they should be able to bet on other hockey games. I know there are some inside sources with the league and stuff that Vegas gets, and that's how they put up their numbers. Fine, grand, great. But right now, to suspend a guy who, by the way, there was no proof or distinctive proof that he was betting on anything, tells me that the NHL dropped the ball on this. They absolutely dropped the ball on this. And I understand with the other leagues, football, we've seen what happened with the Lions and Williams and all that other stuff that's happened over the last, I don't know, year and a half. And the NFL is really being the hand that rocks the cradle. Okay, that's what they are. They're the guys that are doing all this, and they're making the statements here. They didn't want to make the statements when CTE was out. At the time, they were trying to brush it under the rug. And then when the NFL was trying to figure out how they were going to pay all these former football players because they don't have money or didn't have money to pay insurance policies for their knee injuries, head injuries, neck injuries, back injuries, because the NFL and Roger Goodell had no interest of backing up some of these players and some of the money that they have made over the years for this organization. The NHL is another organization that is run by a guy, a pirate, okay? And I will say this, Gary Bettman has been the best commissioner out of all the professional sports. But that doesn't say much, as he gets booed every time his name gets announced. And by the way, he is a guy that cares for himself. These commissioners are all about ownership, and I understand they're there. The owners are hiring them to do their jobs, bring in endorsements, bring in advertisements, bring in what they do. And that's bring in money for the league to grow. But when you look at a story like this and they're trying to pinpoint and point fingers at, and this is not the FBI. There's nothing that tells me, and I understand there's a collective, a bargaining agreement that the players agree to. But this is something that when the new CBA comes out, or when the NHL and these players are going to try to renegotiate deals, they have to look at this and have to say that, listen, I could bet on NHL games as long as I'm not playing in them.
Right. And I think that's the main issue why they're being impulsive with this, is because they don't have any proof right now that it was a definitive NHL game. Now, I think the NHL is a little trickier than the NFL to decipher because you're also dealing with two different countries, too. I think Canada's sports betting laws are different than U.S., and it's got to be mandated in different provinces and stuff like that. And him being an Ottawa Senators player in particular makes it very difficult as well. But at the same time, if there's no proof that you're definitively betting on an NHL game, and there's a bylaw in your contract in the players' agreement saying that you could bet on non-NHL games, then I don't see what the issue is to be able to suspend him right now. Now, could it be investigated further? Is there some kind of fishy kind of financial thing that's going on here with different countries? Maybe. But why are you suspending him now without much proof is a very big question. And I think it looks a lot worse than what the NFL did, because you're doing it without any proof too. The NFL did it for 6 games for some of these guys, and like you said, a full season for them. And their clause in the contract looks worse than the NHL did, but the impulsivity of Gary Bettman is beyond crazy here.
Gary Bettman is lost. Okay, he is lost. And again, we've said this about Rob Manfred. We've said this about Adam Silver letting the players run the league. And we have said this about the one and true idiot of them all, Roger Goodell. Okay, the commissioners of professional sports have their heads up their ass. And by the way, the guy that ran FIFA all those years, that was stealing and doing the things that he was doing over the years, hasn't really helped the game of soccer or whatever, European football grow either. But you look at where the NHL is going with this and where professional sports is going. It is going to be legalized. Betting is going to be legalized almost in every single state in the next, I would say, 5 years. Okay. What is the NHL going to do? You're going to tell these players they can't bet on hockey because they play in the sport? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. And there's an excuse after an excuse with the league. So I also believe when you look at the way the game is growing, when you have guys like Connor McDavid and Bedard and all these great young players, and the NHL is growing worldwide, including the United States. As I said 2 years ago, in the first 2 rounds, there were 6 Long Islanders drafted. I live on Long Island, and there have been 6 Long Islanders, and 2 of the best defensemen in the NHL are from Long Island. So that says a lot about the growth of the sport just here in New York, not even speaking about the whole United States. But I think that the NHL needs to look at this and where the growth is. And some of these players, you have to learn how to bite, and not chew, but bite, and understand that these players are going to bid and bet, play fantasy sports, and do the things that they do, and they're not cheating and they're not doing things. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I think it's despicable what the MLB has done to him. I understand that he bet on the game. He didn't bet against his team. He bet for his team. I just don't see it to be a problem. I don't understand. If he's betting for his team and they can prove that he's betting for his team, why are you going to suspend him? Why are you going to keep him away from the game of baseball? Because it's said that you shouldn't bet on baseball? Why is it allowed that if you go to Vegas, that anybody can bet on baseball but the baseball players? Why is that fair?
Yeah, and again, it's not a case of you're betting on your own sport too. Like, okay, you want bash the NFL for the Calvin Ridley one, but Calvin Ridley was actually betting on his own sport. That's a little different. I still don't think he should have suspended the whole year, but even so,
he should be allowed to bet on his own sport as long as he doesn't bet on his own game.
Right. Now, but it's even worse for the NHL not having to bet on his own sport. If Shane Pinto is going to bet on,
he's not even playing.
Yeah. But again, even so, like regardless of who's the actual player, what the roster situation is like too, maybe the Senators are not playing him for the knowledge of that right now. Regardless of that, it could be Shane Pinto, it could be Chris Kreider, it could be Matthew Barzal. I don't care about the level of the players. Like, you're not betting on your own sport. If he wants to go bet on a college football game, how does that have any effect on the NHL? And even in Canada too. Like, if you're in Canada and want to go bet on an American sport, like, why would that have an impact there if you're even just judging it locally, or even vice versa? If you're making a bet in the US, the Ottawa Senators are playing a road game against the Boston Bruins, and he wants to go place a bet on a CFL game. Saturdays in Canada, on Thursdays, on our show, on our network. Why can't he do that?
It doesn't matter what sport it is. If he wants to bet on his own sport, he should be allowed to do that. The only thing I would say is he can't bet on the game that he is playing in, because if he says he's going to score 2 goals, he's going to do everything he can to put the bucket in the net for those 2 goals to win that money. So he's going to do, and you don't want to do that. You don't want it to affect the game that they're playing in. But any other game, any football game, any other hockey game, any other college hockey game he wants to bet on, he should be able to do that. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I think Gary Bettman, I think that the players in the players union and the CBA, when the CBA is up, they have to sit down and they need to argue this, because betting is becoming legalized throughout the country. You cannot stop betting. You cannot stop betting on sports. I don't care what the collective bargaining agreement is. To me, it doesn't make any sense. It's a stupid rule. Like you said, Kenny, it's a dumb rule, and the league needs to figure this out, because to me, all the leagues need to figure it out, because if other leagues are allowing you to bet on other sports besides your own, which I disagree, as long as it's not your game, why is it that one league is doing it and one league isn't doing it? It doesn't make any sense.
And we've had football guests that have come on and said that, all right, yeah, you could do shady things within betting and talk to coaches, communicate with players, and get some inside information on that too. But it's even harder in hockey. Like football, teams have a game plan. Teams have a game script that they go by for maybe the first quarter. In hockey, you can't bet on a guy just to score a goal and be able to control everything. Hockey is the hardest thing to have controllable aspects of in the game. In a sport, maybe besides baseball, that has a lot more outcomes too. But you can't control that Connor McDavid, just because he's the best player in the league, is going to score in this given game. There's going to be at least 20 games that Connor McDavid does not score a goal in an NHL season. It's not that easy to predict to be able to do that. One team could completely triple team him the whole game, and he has to pass the puck. Or the Edmonton Oilers just get shut out by a hot goalie or a good goalie. So that ends up happening where it's going to be harder. There's less controllable aspects in comparison to football or basketball. That makes the situation even worse for Gary Bettman.
Have you ever seen the movie Focus with Will Smith?
I have not.
Okay, so Will Smith obviously was a thief, okay? And he found ways, and he understood ways on how to take rings, take money, steal things, and all that other stuff. Even bet certain things and manipulate certain things in betting to get guys to bet certain specific things, and then just manipulate the thing where they're stealing. Okay. And that's, to me, betting is such a unique thing. Okay. Because I don't bet, and the chance is there's a 65% chance that you're not going to win when you make a bet. Okay. 65%.
Right.
All right. The rest, there's close to 45 or 40% that you can win. But obviously, with Vegas, they'll take the chances and they'll manipulate it where they honestly know what probably could happen. It's the chances of Vegas. Are you okay over there? Are you okay? You need to drink something. I keep telling you to drink water. You're coughing. Go drink water. Drink some water and get your throat wet or something, man. But Focus, if you ever check the movie Focus out, it's about manipulating the brain, manipulating certain things. And I think the same thing with betting. It's all about manipulation. When you look at Vegas and what Vegas is betting on, and what line, how you're going to bet the line, how you're going to bet the money line, how you're going to bet specific points in a game, the chances of you being right is more slimmer than you being more slimmer than you being wrong. Okay. I think that makes sense. Okay. So you have a better chance of being wrong than being right.
And that's why these betting guys, the way I have on it in 5 minutes, they're priding themselves on the strategy of it too.
There's a strategy.
Right.
Absolutely.
And these players that are betting on these too, I'm not sure they're studying all this strategy either too. And they're just betting and they're going to be wrong at some points too. So why are they not going to be allowed to do that? Shane Pinto should not be should not be prohibited from saying, all right, I think Austin Matthews is going to score a goal in this game, where he's not going to score a goal in every game.
Yeah, and I also think when you look at the NHL, and like I said, the NHL is growing. It's one of the growing sports here in the United States and throughout the country. And it's not going to compete with basketball. It's never going to compete with football or even baseball. It's still a sport that's growing. Money in the CBA contracts are going up because there are new TV deals. And now that the NHL is on so many different channels, from TNT, USA, and even CBS and all that other stuff.
And ESPN has the new thing like NFL Red Zone. They have what's called a frozen frenzy, so they can just even rotate with different games.
You have the chance to watch a hockey game or your favorite hockey game every single night, and you have the NHL package. You can watch every single game throughout the night. So it's a different world. In the 90s and the early 2000s, they didn't have these packages. You couldn't watch every single game. So, and you don't even, and you're still trying to figure out who's playing on whose team, and you're trying to figure out rosters. Now you know, because there's fantasy sports, there's all different ways to bet. And that to me has changed the world and changed sports. And now you have to worry, because now you have players that can actually, bid against themselves in games. And that you've seen in boxing over the years. Floyd Mayweather has been betting on himself so many times and making millions and millions of dollars. Has boxing and the boxing international laws taking the money away from Floyd Mayweather? No, because you can't prove it. And if you can't prove it, well, you're going to get away with it. But they can't prove Pinto, but hey, they suspended him for 41 games, even though he wasn't signed by anybody.
Yeah, and he's not betting on something that definitively is known. I don't know if the NHL has the records of them actually betting on NHL games either. If they're saying, all right, we don't have any evidence, they're just impulsively suspending him, and it makes no sense whatsoever to do it without any proof.
Great move by Gary Bettman, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Impulsive Gary Bettman.
Yeah, well, have you been surprised with the NHL this season so far?
I mean, it's one of those things where I think there's a lot of teams trying to find their ways offensively too. I think there's a lot of the potent offenses have been more on the power play so far, but there's a lot of more lower scoring games this year to start. I think that rust is coming a little bit setting up. I don't think we had that as last year as much, but this year I think there's a little bit of more lower scoring games, especially in the Western Conference.
I think the goal scoring has been a problem, and maybe the goaltending has been better. Maybe the defenses have been better. Maybe the coaching's been better. But we all know the rules haven't changed. It's been the same rules as it's been over the last 2 years, 3 years. But I think that I'm not surprised the Boston Bruins are 6-0. I'm not. I told everybody I think the Boston Bruins will win that division. Everybody thought that the Boston Bruins were going to take steps back. I did not. I think their defense is as good as anybody in the league, and they have great goaltending. And when you have those two things, you're going to win. And there are other teams that have played better than we thought. I mean, it's early. Again, it's 7 games in, 6 games in for most of these teams. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I expected them to have a 4-2 record. I'm not expecting the Detroit Red Wings to be 5-1.
But the best power play in the league.
Yes, but Stevie Yzerman is running that organization. And Stevie Yzerman has already said that he said there's a 5-year plan, and he believes that this team is going to be a contender. So he's rebuilt this team very fast. And Tampa, a team that he did build over the years, is now falling apart. They're getting older. They have not drafted very well ever since Stevie Yzerman has left. And you could see the teams like Detroit bringing in DeBrincat and all these other players and making the team a lot better in the offseason. It shows that Stevie Yzerman has proven that he is one of the best GMs in professional hockey. So I think that it's early still, but a lot of teams you would have thought were going to be better than they were. The Rangers right now, I told you guys that I thought that the Rangers were the best team in their division, or one of them. And I still think the Devils are going to win the division, but I think the Rangers are going to have a good season. I like Peter Laviolette. I like what they have done so far. And I think they're only going to get better. I think the youngsters are going to get better. I think their goaltending, Shesterkin has not even played at the top of his game yet. So when he figures it out, I think they're going to be dangerous. And they have 2 really good offensive lines. Their third line is starting to pick up the pace, and their fourth line, it wins a lot of faceoffs. And by the way, the Rangers have won more faceoffs in the first 6 or 7 games this year than they ever have in the last 5 years. And so that tells you that Peter Laviolette has changed everything right now for this team.
Finally, center depth, veteran guys that could win faceoffs and play defense. Where was this last year?
Well, again, like we have said, and like I have said, I think the Rangers are going to be a lot better than people have thought. So I know there's a lot of Ranger haters, aka Lyle, who wants to, and even though he did come out and say that he does believe that the Rangers are going to have a better record than the Islanders this year, it took a lot. It was like pulling.
I think everyone
teeth.
says that.
It was like pulling teeth from him to believe that. I mean, and I'm an Islander fan. I am an Islander guy. I don't want to say that. I can't stand the New York Rangers. Anybody knows me, they know I can't stand the New York Rangers. But I'm only going to speak the truth and what I've seen. And Peter Laviolette, I believe, was the absolute piece for the New York Rangers in the offseason to bring in that was going to change everything for them. Their defense is not bad. It's not great. But if you have a coach that can coach that defense and have them play the way he wants them to play and cycle the way he wants them to cycle and be tough, not peewees on the ice, which the Rangers have been year in and year out with all the different coaches they've had. I mean, the Rangers have had more coaches in the last 5 years than any team in hockey. So, I mean, and that's crazy because the Rangers for over a long period of time have had coaches for 5, 6, 7 years. They over the last 5 years, they've had 2 coaches. This is their third. 3 coaches in 5 years for the New York Rangers. And in 10 years, they've had like 4 or 5 of them. Yep. So that says a lot about where the Rangers are. I think Peter Laviolette is one of the best coaches in NHL history. He's the top 8 in history when it comes to wins. The guy knows how to win. The Islanders made a mistake. Mike Milbury made a mistake when they decided to part ways with him. I was not happy with the Islanders at that point. But Mike Milbury is an absolute screwball, and that's why he's not running an organization, and he's not a part of hockey anymore. He's not part of ESPN or CBS. I think he's hiding in his dome. Yep. Okay?
That's what happens when you say sexist things, too.
Well, that's a whole nother story. Or taking off his skate and threatening that he's going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Okay? We all know about Mike Milbury and his background, okay? And by the way, he was a Bruin. I think he was drafted by the Bruins.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. For all you Bruin fans that absolutely like Mike Milbury, you can have him. You can have him back. We don't want him. None of the New York teams want him. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having our betting observations. Yes, observations. As we have Derek, a.k.a. Mountaineer, and Chazzy Moto. I don't know if Johnny B. Bad will be on. I know he's probably coaching tonight. He coaches basketball. He coaches football. He's coaching golf. He's coaching, I don't know, NASCAR. Before you know it, I mean, he's coaching everything. When we come back, we will have Let's Parlay here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, the Speedster. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth, which airs every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Be careful, be conquering. Listen to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. All you have to do is go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. I said conquer because Derek Mountain is here, and so is Chaz, and they're going to conquer our Let's Parlay big segment, as we call this, Speedy.
Let's parlay.
Parlay, ole, It's time for Let's Parlay.
Chicka, 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 chicka. Where's Johnny? Where is Johnny now? Chaz, I'm looking at you right here. You're moving your head. You look like you're a little sick. I mean, you look whiter than a ghost.
Yeah, that's just because I didn't turn my lights on.
Oh, that's what it was. I mean,
and
you look like
remember, where we are, the sun is still setting, so I'm getting bad light in this room.
Yeah, you look
and
like
it's not
Patrick Swayze from Ghost, man. You
yeah,
do.
it's not. Yeah, there you go. It's not that I'm disrespecting you by not having my lights on and shutting the blinds and making it a better environment. It's just that I thought that my picks really are more important.
Well, guess what?
Hey,
I know your
did you
wife.
Did you see Derek? I don't know if you saw my tweet. I threw in a WTF parlay last week. It was plus 41.52 and it banged. I had money line Miami over Clemson, Utah over USC, and I bet against my Aztecs because Brady Hoke sucks. And it hit. It hit plus 4157, I think it was, or something.
That's unreal. Wow.
Yeah, you know what? You don't get a lot of 40-1 shot sports betting. You get them a lot in the horses, you know?
No, how much? Let me ask you a question, Chaz. And I know you don't have to give us a number. Have you made a lot of money over the last year and a half?
You know what? I treat sports betting a lot differently than most people. I don't use bankroll management. I don't give a shit about bankroll management. I'll go all in all day long, lose it all, start again. But what I do is I just kind of keep the tickets. So I like the tickets, and here's why I like the tickets. I don't do stupid things when I got the tickets because you got to physically go and get the tickets. But my answer to that question would be I'm pretty good at this.
Okay, you're pretty good at this. So listen to Chaz, Sports Betting Weekly. He is the king. He's got all these handicappers, behind him.
Derek will tell you. Yeah, I know a lot of guys, and we were talking about my son just put a bet on my son that doesn't bet, who lives in Hawaii. Said, Dad, will you put a bet in on Victor to win the MVP? And I sent him a text of the top 5 men that are in the league for MVP. And Victor ain't winning this thing. It's not a shot in hell he's winning. They would have to say, hey, all the MVP candidates get in a bus. We're going to go take pictures, and the bus crashes off of a ravine, right? And 3 of them would still probably make it because they're such pure specimens, you know?
There's no way there's no way he's beating Joe King.
Right, of course not. But the what I was getting to is, and Derek will attest to this, how you bet is really so much more important than who you bet. I've seen guys just screw up. So the classic example is your best bet loses, which happens a lot, right? But everybody else wins and you don't win any money. You go 5-1 and you don't win money. How the hell do you do that? It's how you bet. So I really put a lot of effort into how I bet. And Derek, the way I got that money line is I did my normal handicapping and I just made notes of why is this team favored? You've seen that, right? You feel like the wrong team is favored. So I just happened to see 3 of them all in the late games. And I said, what the hell, I'm up. Let me go for it. And that was really up after that. I didn't do well on Sunday. I got a split, lost a little bit. I lost some parlays. I gave a little bit of it back, but you know what? I won a lot of money on Saturday, so it was okay by me. I don't separate college from basketball, from the soccer plays. Paulo gave me 17 soccer plays today. I was on soccer from the minute I woke up. I was at the pool today, and I had a game. Where was it? I don't know. It was the cup, the Europa Cup or whatever. I don't even know the team. I got a game right now going on in Bolivia, I think. I think it's Bolivia. I mean, because he's international, so soccer is everywhere, and it's so important everywhere.
That's what Jeff bets on. He's a big bettor when it comes to soccer.
When it comes to anything but football or the horses, I'm almost always, if I have action, it's somebody else's plays.
All right, so we have about 8 minutes, and I need you guys to give me your top 4 and parlay picks. Are you ready? We'll go with Derek first, Chaz second. That's 8 picks, 4 for you and 4 for him. Are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Derek,
Good luck, Derek. Hey, what
You
did
too,
Derek do
Chaz.
last week?
3-1.
All right, yeah, because I know that he won one. When I lost the over, I think his guy won in that Miami game, did he?
Yeah, he had the Eagles covering.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Go ahead, Derek.
All right, so Anthony Davis will be my first play. They got the Suns in about an hour and a half. You can find his over-under at like 22, 23 and a half, depending on the book. I'm just going to take 25 plus points. FanDuel is at plus money, plus 110. So I will go up the bucket there for him to rebound off opening night. Scored 0 points in the second half. As we remember from the Western Conference Final last year, he struggles against Aaron Gordon in that matchup. But tonight he's got Nurkic, he's got Drew Eubanks, much more agile than those guys. LeBron is on a minutes restriction. I think AD's going to carry the workload here. 25 plus for AD.
Chaz, give us your first pick. Or first.
I'm coming right back with Jacksonville. If you remember last week, I hopped on them in live action. It wasn't as close. It was closer than the score looked. They won by 7, but they gave up a lead there. They've got a great against the spread record, and there's nothing that'll woo me better than an against the spread record.
Okay, Derek, give us your second play.
I will go to college on Saturday. I am going to take the Utes plus 7 against Oregon.
What did he say?
The Utes.
What was that word?
University of Utah. Utes. I will take them plus 7. So not going to go crazy and take the money line, but I don't hate a sprinkle there either. I mean, we know Kyle Whittingham does his best work in the Pac-12. They've been to the championship the past 2 years. After last week's road victory over USC, they do control their destiny. I just think this is a good matchup. Not only is this one of the biggest home field advantages in college, but just look at the teams Oregon's played in the Pac-12. It's been Washington, Washington State, Colorado, and Stanford. All of these teams like to air it out. They're finesse first, pass first teams. Utah is a ground and pound operation. I think they've found their backup quarterback in Bryson Barnes now that Cam Rising's not going to play this year. He's going to redshirt. They've rotated between Johnson and Barnes. Barnes kind of solidified himself last week. They're able to get some explosives through the air, but I think this is a good matchup. Oregon, according to PFF, is 110th in the country in missed tackles. So not a great tackling team. We know how physical Utah is. We're getting to late October. This is where the trenches matter most. So give me Utah plus 7.
Very interesting. All right, Chaz, give us your second play.
Dallas at home is a different team than Dallas on the road. I'm going to take the Dallas at home that I bet against on the road. 6.5 is what I got.
6.5 for Chazimoto. Speedy, you got that one? All right. Derek, give us your third play.
Errol and Speedy, I think you will like this play. I am going to take Breece Hall over 68.5 rushing yards against your New York Giants on Sunday. I just like the way that he's trending. He's gone from his last 3 games, 44% of snaps to 52% of snaps to seeing 66% of the snaps against the Eagles. He hits a bye week. He looks fully healthy. He's seen 22 and 12 carries respectively in his last 2 games. This is a Giants run defense that has allowed at least 70 yards to one opposing running back every single game except for last week going against Washington. But I mean, who's kidding who? Breece and that Jets offensive line is much better than anything Washington has shown on the ground this year. If Breece gets to 14, 15 carries this week, I think he hits this number easily. I think if you take his escalators up to 70, 80, 90, even 100 yards at plus money, I think that is also a smart investment the way that he has looked. So give me Breece Hall over 68.5 rushing yards.
Chaz, give us your third play. I like that one, by the way.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to say the same thing, Errol. And the most reason I like it is I love running back props because it's one play you can win it. One play. You can't – it's hard. The receivers are so much higher, The running back, one play you can bang that. I'm going I got an over. I'll go on an over. I got an over in the Chicago Chargers game. I got over 46.5. Why do I have that? I don't remember. I was running late.
Old name, the Chicago Chargers.
Chicago Chargers game, yeah. Let's see here. Why do I have that? I don't even remember. Oh, here I go. Okay. Mostly because Chicago on the road, all they do is give up points and allow points. So that's why I did it.
All right. Final play, your parlay, my friend Derek.
Alrighty. I am also going to
By the
take
way,
an over.
Derek, you've been hot. You've been hot for the last 2 weeks. So
Knock on wood, Errol. You're jinxing me before the week
I'm not
even
jinxing
starts.
you. I'm telling you, you've been hot. You've been
I
hot.
appreciate it.
That's all.
But
I'm
again,
saying.
Derek, just also just been a Jets play. So
Well, I just want to tell
True.
you, I'm not excited about this game against the Giants. I something tells me Zach Wilson's going to make a lot of mistakes in this game. That's just my opinion. But whatever. Here we go, Derek.
We'll see. I'm also going to take an over. I'm going to go to another 4:00 game. I'm going to go to the 49ers Bengals over 43.5. Looks like Sam Darnold's going to start. I will take advantage of what I think is a low number. And I feel like the books have adjusted a little bit too far the other way for Sam Darnold, for a guy where I don't know if there's that much of a drop off. I think Purdy down to down is probably more efficient at this point, but I think Darnold's upside is higher in this offense. We have seen that Shanahan is an ultimate plug and play offense for quarterbacks. We've seen Nick Mullins, we've seen CJ Beathard, guys like of that caliber execute in this offense. There's no Debo in this spot, but you still have Kittle against a Cincinnati team that struggles against tight ends. Still have CMC, still have Ayuk, more than enough. On the other side, I think Minnesota exploited something last week with San Fran and those outside corners. We saw Addison, KJ Osborne, and even Brandon Powell all have over 50 receiving yards as receivers. Hawkinson also had a great game himself, but Burrow off a bye week. We know that he looked much sharper his last 2 games with that calf injury. He has a bye week now. Those Cincinnati wide receivers are much more lethal than what Minnesota has without Justin Jefferson last week. I think this game has the potential to be a shootout. We're looking at 65 in clear skies in San Fran for this one, or for Cincinnati in this one. So I got over 43.5 in this one.
All right, Chaz, give us your final play.
Last week, you may remember there were 2 big games. There was the Miami-Philly game, but I felt that the Baltimore-Detroit game was the more important game of the day. And I did not bet it. I did not watch it. I paid attention to it, but I did not see it coming either. I did not see that coming. And so I'm coming right back with Detroit. Give an 8.
He just slips it. I'm coming back with Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is,
last week.
You know, Derek, we're in the middle of the season where you're going to see teams trip up. You see teams that are going to establish that they're much better at home than they are on the road. You're going to see the data. You got enough data. You got enough feel for the players. You could get a real good read, and it's a long season. Think about it. We're already getting to the month of November. There's still a lot of football left to be played. 100%. Some teams are going to rebound. Some teams they peaked. Remember last year the Jets? They were 6-1, I think, right?
Stop fixing them. Now you're really.
I'm just saying.
Thank
and
you.
then they went.
Thank you. Do not, Derek. You do not pick the Jets this week. Do not do that.
Oh no,
Actually,
I didn't. I just picked Breeze. Just let me pick Breeze.
All right.
I have 4. Here's the 4 teams. Here's the 4 teams that I talked about: 49ers, Miami, Detroit, and Buffalo. Are they bumps in the road? Do you got to watch them for a while? Can they overcome the injuries? Whatever the case may be, would you not agree at the beginning of the year those were the four of the best teams you're thinking about in the NFL? Well, they have not looked like it in the last 8 games.
I would agree. All right, Chaz, we got to go. But we love you guys. Derek, thank you for the time. We want you on every single week, especially when you're hot, man. If you're hot, the people love you.
Right, baby, right.
Anthony Angerosi is a big fan of all you guys, and you guys have been making him a lot of money. So he's very excited about you guys. So keep up the good work.
Good luck this week, guys. Always be cashing, huh?
You too. See you guys.
Let's parlay with Derek Mountaineer and Mr. Chazimoto. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to a quick break. When we come back, our friend, yes, we've had him on the show before, great personality, ex-catcher, smart ass as always, like we are, and we will be talking to catcher, or ex-catcher, and voice and analyst, Mr. Michael McHenry, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat
looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth, which airs every single Wednesdays and Thursdays. All you have to do is go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to our Let's Parlay guys. If you like to bet, well, you should have been listening. If you didn't, well, you listen to the replay. But we love this guy. We were happy to get him on the show. We missed him last week, but we got him this week. We're now talking to former Pirates, Rockies, and Cardinals catcher, Michael McHenry. Michael, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? Long time no talk. I know you've missed me.
Well,
been thinking about me ever since last year when we had that great conversation.
Listen, man, we were thinking about you, but not any sexual way. So just so you know, we weren't thinking about you that way. But as far as your personality and what you do,
Petey got quiet. That got weird. Petey got quiet. That got weird.
Petey's a little lost. I mean, he's getting off being sick. And by the way, if I told you what Speedy likes, you probably wouldn't believe me. So maybe he did like it. I don't know.
No conspiracy theories here.
We're off to a dashing start, boys. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, anyways, we haven't spoken to you for, I would say, about 8 months, 7 months. And we're happy to have you on. And a lot of craziness gone on this year when it came to baseball. And one crazy thing going into the offseason is the Ohtani story. And Ohtani is expected to make a lot of money. We've heard closer to $600 million, but now that he tore his UCL, it might not be the same pitcher he once was. This is the second time he's torn his UCL. What are your thoughts? Do you see him making over $500 million, and where do you see him going?
Yeah, he's going to get paid. I just would not want to be the team that has to pay him. I mean, the reality of it is I don't know if anybody's worth that much money unless they're made of something from beyond this world. You can never predict injuries. You can never predict loss of love of the game. There's so many elements that go into it. I think baseball would be better off kind of have that NFL mentality or that mindset of, hey, it's not all guaranteed. This much is guaranteed. If you hit these markers, this will all be guaranteed. But I mean, just how often guys are getting hurt, especially when it comes to that UCL. I mean, it's just remarkable now. I mean, we're up 60% this year in UCL. So I think Ohtani's going to get paid. I think he's going to probably do I'm going to say maybe not a full long-term deal, maybe halfway where maybe he can get one more deal out of it, or he's going to have just tremendously huge opt-outs opportunities where, he can leave at any moment. So it's going to be really hard for a team to really commit. His agent, I'm sure, is going to try to get every single dollar and cent he can. But if you're really creative, you're going to defer money and you're going to try to get this guy because he's generational. I mean, we've never seen anything like him. I often say he's not from this planet because the things he does is just absolutely outstanding. I mean, he's a top 5 hitter.
Is he an alien like Dominguez? I mean, call him the alien. So
yeah, he really is. I mean, Dominguez hasn't proved it yet. Maybe he does. Another guy that got hurt, but yeah, I think Ohtani's going to get, at least $30-35 million. Maybe they try to get him for a year or two and he gets $50-60 million. But if he's going to have surgery, you're not going to have him on the mound for a while. So they want him in the lineup as fast as possible. So someone's going to pay him to be on the IL more than likely and, kind of wait their due time. So it's going to be fun to watch that because it's something we've never seen before.
So based on that, you think that him not pitching this year will limit his market, and how much do you think it will? And also this East Coast, West Coast thing, everyone thinks he's going to go to the West Coast. Do you think any East Coast teams have a shot?
I think LA's the front runner, not the Angels. They completely kicked that pooch down the road. Completely messed that up, to be honest. But yeah, I think LA, if you look what they did with their the way the tax system works, they got underneath that threshold, so they weren't taxed this year. It reset everything so they can really go above and beyond. They're going to lose some of the contracts, and they are going to be a better team going into next year. By adding him, they are by far the front runner, and the one position they don't maybe need next year is that pitcher. They're going to be stacked. You think about all those young arms. They'll bring back Kershaw, and then they have Ohtani coming back year 2 on the mound. They would be willing to probably wait and get him in that lineup. And you think about that lineup with him in the middle of it, it just sounds devastating.
We are talking to former Pirates and Rockies Cardinals catcher Michael McHenry. Michael, there is another Japanese pitcher that everybody keeps talking about. He has been the voice of reason throughout the league because everybody wants him, and there was some conversation that he wants to go and play with another Japanese superstar, and that is Yamamoto. Where do you see him going? Do you see him going to the East Coast, or do you see him going with Ohtani wherever he heads?
PD just needs to turn around. That's where I think he's going. He will be a Met. I think as much success as they have had bringing in international talent, especially from Japan, and you know what they had this year in the Ghost, I think they'll be just fine bringing in another guy. They have the money. I mean, it seems like they just have an endless amount of money, but yeah, I think you'll probably see a big splash there. If not there, right down the road, down the road.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a Yankee fan, but I'm not saying it because I'm a Yankee fan. I have this feeling. Brian Cashman and Omar Minaya were there not once, but twice. And I've heard, I mean, the Juan Soto sweepstakes is opening up for the Yankees, but they already said their number one target is Yamamoto. So
they're going to have to dish some money out. I mean, and what I mean by that, dish money away from the team. Maybe they trade Stanton or somebody that's making $30 million a year, because you're getting to a point where a lot of these guys aren't staying healthy, and they're a ton of money. They're a high risk for you. You maybe eat 15 million and then send them on their way. So at least you get 15 extra million a year to spend. But yeah, they're going to get to a point where they're paying so much money for guys to be on the IL. I mean, that's just not a good way to go about it. And a lot of their young players are going to get to where they need to extend them early so they don't have to spend all this money, because the game is just going somewhere. It's just wild how much money is being thrown out at the top free agents. And, you know, you're talking about well into your late 30s into your 40s, and you don't know how they're going to produce. You don't know how they're going to even care for the game, or even if they're going to want to be there. So you got to make sure you sign the right guy. I always say you got to bet on the person.
Yeah, I was asked about Juan Soto too. Do you think the Padres are going to push that hard in order to trade him? There was the issues with the team culture. He was mentioning all these guys weren't giving effort because the Padres had a good run differential. We're losing a lot of close games, maybe not doing the little things. So do you think he gets traded? And is it the Mets and the Yankees bidding for it, or can you see another team?
Yeah, I believe he's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. And I do not think
arbitration. He's got 1 more year on.
Okay, 1 more year arbitration. I would not be surprised either way. I had my notes that he's one of the guys I see moving, and the reason is San Diego needs to find a way to get maybe some depth over there. They don't have a lot of depth. You have Manny Machado, who had to have surgery. They're going to lose Blake Snell possibly. He may sign back, but I see him going to Seattle. And if you lose Juan Soto, you're talking about maybe starting your year without Machado, without Blake Snell, and without Juan Soto. That's a rough start to the season when you think about the guys that really produced this past year. So it'll be intriguing to see. I think the haul you could get back, and I think the Yankees have that ability. I think there's some other teams that kind of suit him well. You may see the Cardinals step up, somebody like that maybe come out of the blue to try to get him, because he fits there too.
You know, it's so interesting watching the playoffs, and it's been so wide open. And I was one of those guys that said, don't be surprised if there's a tremendous amount of surprises going into the playoffs. And Texas was my team to go all the way to the World Series and win the World Series.
Why?
Because of Bruce Bochy.
Good call.
And I think he's the best manager. I think he's been the best manager in baseball for the last 15 years. And he's been amazing. He knows how to win, and he knows how to push the right buttons. And a lot of these youngsters, last year they had 100 losses, and then just come back the next year with Bruce Bochy and then just take it to another level, whatever you want to call it. But I have been so surprised. What were your thoughts going into the playoffs? Did you think that Texas had any chance of going to the World Series?
I didn't. I mean, if you look at how they were playing going into the playoffs, I mean, they let their entire division fall just right out of their fingertips to their division rivals in state in the Houston Astros. And it looked like the Astros were catching steam and Texas was just deflated. I mean, they lost Max Scherzer early on. They didn't have DeGrom, and it didn't seem like they were going to hit enough. And if they don't hit enough, if they don't get starting pitching in that sixth inning, they really have no shot of winning most games because their bullpen is very wishy-washy. It's the one weakness they have. They have some youngsters down there, and they have some guys that have been beat up all year. And when a bullpen's been overexposed, it's never a good thing going into the playoffs. A lot of times playoffs are won by the long ball and bullpens. And I didn't think they had that capability, but Bruce Bochy, like you said, I was really surprised how bad the Astros played at home. It all year long. If you look back, 28 sellouts this year, they lost 28. They lost 22 games sellouts at home. Where if you look at the Phillies, exact opposite. Those guys played so much better at home, especially in sellouts. So that was weird to me. I felt like they knew the dynasty was maybe coming to an end with their manager leaving. I think that was already being said around the clubhouse. There was speculation, but I didn't think he would actually leave, and Dusty Baker. So yeah, I thought that was a fun series to watch. But yeah, you're right. Bruce Bochy has some ability to bring a group of men together to work with one heartbeat. It was fun to watch. The guys fired on the right cylinders, and I think the coolest story is Garcia. Dude's been designated twice. I mean, if you're a St. Louis fan, you literally had to be clawing your face off watching that, right? Right? Especially after this past year. I mean, you had to be clawing your face off because two of the best international players were outfielders, one for Tampa Bay and one for Texas. They're both in the home run derby putting on a show. And now you have one that almost took the entire Texas team, threw him on his back and said, I got you. So yeah, I think St. Louis may make a big splash because of all those things.
Yeah, they also had one of the best pitchers in the World Series right now, and Zach Gallen, who they traded to Miami. Then Miami traded him to Arizona, and while he didn't pitch well against the Phillies, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball all year too. So yeah, I think the Cardinals fans will be having a rough one with that one.
And I don't know if you know this. Did you see the article about Max Scherzer?
Mm-hmm.
He called, and that's where he wanted to go when he signed with the Nationals.
Oh, stop.
So he'd still be there.
Why is he opening his mouth? I mean, all he does is open his mouth. He didn't like New York. He was running for the money. So was Verlander. Now they're both, on their merry way. One has a chance to win the World Series, and they both played against one another in the ALCS. Why are they opening their mouths? I don't want to hear him say anything. Just keep your mouth shut. You're going to win a World Series, and it's not going to be because of you. So it's horrible. I don't want to hear him anymore. He annoys the hell out of me. He's a giant hemorrhoid. That's what he is.
Here's the thing. I know Max. I played with Max. First with Verlander. That's Verlander. He's always been that way. He's always been outspoken. And he thinks about Verlander first. I mean, I will never forget the moment Josh Harrison hits a ball up the middle. We have he's 8 2/3 no hits for Verlander, and Harrison hits a ball up the middle. It's literally a foot off the plate. Literally a foot off the plate. This guy's a bad ball hitter. He throws his catcher under the bus and says, "Yeah, I knew I shouldn't have thrown that slider. Should have shaken off Avila there." I'm like, what? You throw a phenomenal game. It's a one-hit shutout, and because you didn't get it, you throw him under the bus, and that just irks me to this day. I mean, you just don't do that to anybody. Right? You always try to take ownership, responsibility for everything, even if it wasn't your fault, especially in a team sport. Now, going on to Scherzer, I think he's a big boost and a big reason why they won.
Interesting.
And the reason I say that is I didn't know if it was theatrics for him going out in game 3. He went out and didn't pitch that well. And, there he's on his merry way. But I think it gave a boost because he wasn't supposed to pitch. He wasn't supposed to pitch again this year. And here he is working his tail off trying. And he has nothing to lose. Like you said, he's got all the money he needs and everything else. He wants those rings. He wants to be remembered as the fighter, the bulldog, the psychopath that he is. And that's what I like about Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer, when he says things, he believes it. And he says it in confidence. A lot of things that I think got out in New York was behind his back. And he was trying to say things maybe to other players or media he trusted to explain where they were as a team. And he knew he probably shouldn't have signed there. It didn't fit his personality because he's a fighter. And if you go to New York and you're a fighter and you're not a guy that's willing to kind of go ebb and flow and let things roll off your back, you're you're probably not a good fit for New York because they're going to eat you alive.
You know, they should have made Jerry Maguire too, and he should have been the lead role in it because he was seeing the money. They were showing him the money. Uncle Stevie was piling him the money, and same with Verlander. And what does he do? He jets out of here. I didn't think it was going to work in New York. I didn't think Verlander was going to work. All the Met fans sat there and said, "Oh, look who we have! We have Matt Shannon. This guy. We're going to win a World Series." And what did they do? They absolutely bombed again, and they were under 500 once again. Bucky is gone now, and he's Showaltering.
And now you have outfielders calling him out for a lack of work ethic there, which clearly Max Scherzer did not have in Texas, but he had it with the bats.
By the way, Showaltering is a dance now, just so you know, here in New York. So if you want to Showalter, you have to come out here, and we'll show you the Showalter. Okay? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I promise for either one of those guys, work ethic wasn't a problem. I promise you that. Like, if you're going to give people a lot of money, you want to know that they're going to put in the time and the effort to be great. But those guys want to be great. I just think when you look at two guys that are right at 40 or above, it's hard to justify them getting more money than Garrett Cole. You know, even if it isn't a short-term deal, I think incentive-based. But, you know, when you're competing and that's where the market is, that's just the way it goes. And I'm a player. I mean, I want him to spend all the money in the world. But at the same time, when you look at it in a business format, it's really tough. And I think the scary point for you guys, maybe not Speedy, is the fact that that owner with the Mets understands baseball better than he's ever going to understand it, at least dating back to last year because of all the failure he just went through.
Yeah.
And he has $155 million in taxes that he's going to have to pay or dish out in revenue sharing this next year. That's going to remind him all the things he didn't know. That you can't buy a championship in baseball. It's the one league I would say you cannot spend enough money on players to combat personnel, to combat development, the draft, all those things that combine together. And then obviously you have to figure out a way to connect all these guys. If you're not all connected in a way like the Diamondbacks, you're not going to win. That's the one difference in baseball. You cannot win with the two best players in the world, Trout and Ohtani. You can't win, right? We should learn from that. And I think he did. And the fact that he made a couple moves and said they're going to do some things different, gave himself some time, watch out. That's when guys can really take that next step. And he's a guy that's willing to spend a ton of money. He's willing to hire the best possible people around him. And most importantly, he's willing to hear the word no. That's wrong. And guys that do that with money are scary.
The only thing I'm going to be watching out for, Uncle Stevie is him, farting within 5 feet of me. That's about it. I mean, when it comes to money, Uncle Stevie will open up his pockets and have no problems throwing it away. $1.7 billion in the last 3 years. And he seems to open up his pockets and his mouth whenever he wants to, as he did it for David Stearns, and he will do it for Craig Counsell. And this team, I think the Mets are set up in a really good position because David Stearns built the Milwaukee Brewers. They didn't win anything. And I have to tell that to Met fans. I know Met fans are jumping for joy, but we have seen the Mets over the years bring in these GMs and, we're bringing this guy, bringing in, and we all know off the field, they're getting drunk, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're womanizers, they're playing with themselves. I mean, this has been the Mets, this is who the Mets are. So I could only hope the Mets, put the right guys in the office and don't make it turn into the show, The Office. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So I want to ask about the rule changes,
which means they're clowns, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, we knew that.
I think we found a Yankees fan.
Oh no! I make fun of the Yankees too. Don't get me wrong. You will hear.
I know. You're pretty good at both. I love it.
I love it. You know what it is as when you analyze things as a professional when it comes to sports, even if you're a fan of those teams, you have to be honest. And both teams, both organizations are complete jokes. So I just think Garrett Cole is going to win the Cy Young. He should win the Cy Young. But nevertheless, that whole team, garbage. And the Yankees are going to have an offseason of stupidity. That's all I'm going to say. That's it.
So I want to ask about the rule changes because you look at the some of the veteran teams like the Mets that kind of struggle with that, the Padres we were talking about earlier, and then you have younger teams like the Orioles and the Diamondbacks that really strived off of that kind of thing. And we've had, since the last time we've had you on the show, a lot of ex-baseball players have been very split. Your former teammate Garrett Jones was saying he didn't like it at first, but started to like it later. So what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I still don't understand the pizza boxes on the bases. Right? Like, If we're gonna do that, like at least let's get like a Papa John's logo or something. Like if you step on 15 slices in the second inning, the whole crowd gets a piece of pizza. I don't know. That was weird for me. I think there was more injuries on the base pass, in my opinion, than I'd seen the last couple of years. And I think that's because the confusion on sliding and contact. So there's some other things that need to change. But I was against it. I'm a purist. I was against it in a lot of ways. I think they still can refine it, but I did come to enjoy it. I love the banning of the shift, even though they still can move around. I thought we saw more athleticism. I think it made some of the infielders be able to showcase their talent in a different way. I do wish that they would use the pitch comm better and allow these guys to move on their own so we can see more of that purity of guys that really understand swings. They understand, the circumstance they're in or the situation that is at hand, so they can expect the ball. So they're there without even, we may not notice as fans, but I'm watching as an analyst. I'm like, man, dude just took 2 steps over to the left. Ball goes right to him, right in his glove, almost like he's in Sandlot. It's just crazy stuff like that. And I think we're going to be able to see more of that without guys feeling incredibly uncomfortable. I thought we saw the best first base play in the last probably 30 decades across the board. And the reason is because those guys weren't playing second base anymore. Right. And trying to think about getting back is so hard. I tried it when I was in Tampa Bay because I was a backup first baseman a lot of times on teams. And man, I felt like I was never going to go back. I don't have long legs. I'm little. I'm like, I got to run really fast to get there. And Lord knows they're going to try to hit me right in the face as I'm coming. And I got to turn around and catch it like I'm a wide receiver. It just wasn't good. So I liked it all. I thought it was good for the game. I think the pace of play, if you're at home, you love it. If you're at the game, you hate it. They got to figure out a way to combat the lines, if you leave your seat, you're missing an inning or 2. So that's going to be a huge problem. I'd be really surprised if sales went up, even though the numbers at the stadium were up 9%. I bet they're really close to the same when it comes to concessions because they didn't have enough time. I mean, we saw early on in the season, they were trying to make the 7th inning, I believe is when they cut it off with beer. Yeah. They were trying to make it the 8th. And right. So right. Last call, 8th inning, whatever. But they did that. And that was an agreement throughout baseball. So they're going to have to figure out some things, but
get rid of Rob Manfred.
Hey, he is making so much money for those owners and for the players.
Oh, please.
Even if you don't like him.
You would make the money. Let's make you the commissioner, okay? You would make that money. And by the way, we were talking to former Pirates, Rockies, Cardinals catcher Michael McHenry. I'll hire you, okay? I'll put in for Michael McHenry to take over as the commissioner of the league. I'll be your assistant commissioner. And you know what? I'll take the pizza boxes and I'll actually put pizza in the boxes. So when you actually steal second base, you can open the box and eat some pizza.
Don't tell Daniel Vogelbach. He might try to steal bases.
Oh, I love it. Dynamite drop in right there, Petey.
It was actually funny because about 2 months ago, my immediate family, we went out to visit some of our extended family in Baltimore, and one of the guys, my dad's cousin, who's a big Orioles fan, we were getting food before the game, and I was like, we have to save some for Daniel Vogelbach. It led to a whole bunch of jokes after that because it wasn't even in the lineup. We were trying to figure out. The joke was, what concession stand is he at?
Billy Epler threw Buck Showalter.
Oh, that was good. That was really good.
That organization, man. We have being in New York. It's crazy because we sit here and we have to make fun of our teams because we don't do anything else. We don't win. We lose badly. And then when we do win, the Yankee fans or any of the fans out here think that, hey, you know what? We could talk crap. And then the next year we get bulldozed by everybody else. So I living here in New York and talking New York sports, every New York fan, the Jets are 3-3 and we have Aaron Rodgers. He gets hurt in 5 plays and there it is. We're done. The season's over. This is New York sports. This is how it always is over here. And we always try to find the what is the word, Speedy? We try to find
something to criticize.
No, not even criticize. We try to find the glass half full kind of thing. That's New York fans. Okay, so New York fans, I'm from New York. I'm here in New York. I could only tell you one thing. You are all a bunch of idiots.
So
okay? Every one of you.
Hopeless optimism is that what you're going
Idiots.
for?
That's all I'm going to say. And they probably hate me anyways, but that's good. It's better to be hated than loved. That's all I'm going to say when it comes to sports radio. They can kiss my ass. Anyways, by the way, before we let you go, I have one more question.
Hold on. I want to go back to the Rob Manfred. I want to know what would you do as commissioner? Like what are maybe one or two things that you would do immediately as commissioner, and two, like what could Rob Manfred do better? Because I think there's 1,000 things, but I'd like to know. And what do you see coming? You guys watch sports all the time. I mean, there's more rules that are going to be changed. They're talking about automated strike zone. They're talking about a lot of different things.
Do you want
what's better for the game?
Do you want the game to be fun to watch or boring to watch?
I mean, of course you want it to be fun, but that's perspective. Like,
Here's my perspective.
Let's go.
Okay, with hockey, all right. Hockey they have an overtime and then they have a shootout, and then it's decided by a shootout. If it goes to overtime and it goes to a specific inning, and I would stop with that second base crap. I don't want to see that anymore. It's stupid. It ruins the game. You take your best two hitters. That's what I would say. Your best hitter and the other team's best hitter. And then you put a pitcher on the mound and you give him an opportunity for 10 pitches after, let's say, the 12th inning, and give him a home run derby for 10 pitches. And whoever hits more home runs, that team wins. And the other team. And finally, baseball has a draw where you could get a point that gives you a point to get into the playoffs. And you have a point system, not any more wins and losses, a point system. That's where I think baseball would be more interesting. It'll get the fans more involved. It'll get the fans to see more offense, it'll be more interesting to watch than watch this garbage. Oh, we're going to play a guy on second base after the ninth inning. We're going to see who's going to score with 2 outs left. It's so stupid. It's dumb. And it's really, it's Rob Manfred. That's what I say. That is the Rob Manfred rule, the idiotic, stuped rule. Thank you, Rob.
I'm going to mention
for giving us
actually
that wonderful rule.
I'm actually going to mention 2 other ones, not one of mine, because we have up after you. We have a coach from the Savannah Bananas.
I know you would like him
Adam
too.
Virant.
I know you would like.
It was
him.
funny.
Yeah. We should put him on. Let's do that.
All right,
let's put him on.
All right,
Why
let's
not?
put Adam on. All right, so I just wanted to mention Adam. Welcome to the show as well, Matt. Matt Joyce, we had on a couple of weeks after we had you on, Mike, the first time. A couple of weeks, he actually was advocating for the Savannah Banana out rule, where the Savannah Bananas, where Adam, very well, if the ball is hitting the stands, it's an out. And that's it. So
that'd be a great rule for extra innings. I think starting implementing stuff like that in extra innings and take away that guy at second base would be absolutely outstanding, because I love that.
So the other one, Mike, that we were mentioning too was your ex-teammate, Garrett Jones in Pittsburgh. When we had him on the show, he was saying every home run over 450 feet is an extra half a run.
I love that. Yes. Yeah. What about this? I want to I want to change how they review plays. And I feel like they should be able to duel. Right. Or two, like if there's a fight that breaks out and anybody leaves the bench, I want to see those guys go at it for a minute, like hockey. And then I wouldn't be opposed to a power play. We got all the clocks on the field, right? How fun would that be? Could you see
penalty box?
Yeah, right. But he has to go sit right in the middle of their bullpen, visiting bullpen. Wouldn't that be fun? You could use that for Savannah Bananas.
I love it.
But here's the thing: is I said this the other day about our umpires, and I'm friends with a lot of these guys. But like, you go watch an NFL game, NCAA football, or a basketball game, NCAA or above. Those dudes are yoked up. They're running up and down the sidelines. Go name me 5 guys in the MLB that are running up and down that sideline in the NFL next week, right? So my thought is like, hey, if they overturn a call and they disagree with it, you got to go at it for a minute. See who wins.
That's interesting, and we'll keep you on.
Just change it up. Yeah,
Amir Garrett would love that. He loves instigating things, charging.
That was the wildest game I've ever seen, by the way.
I know. I think were you playing at that time? The first time?
No, I was in the booth.
Okay. You were in the booth at that point. Okay,
I think you're better off being in the booth when you see something like that.
Because he was his rookie year. I wasn't sure what year it was. It might have been 2015. It might have been after you were there. But he started that his rookie year, and it's like he did it 2 other times since then.
Say, Mike, we want you to stay on, but now we have our second guest, and he is a coach, well, a co-coach or head coach, a co-head coach of the talking, well, where we're talking to the Savannah Bananas, Adam Viren. Adam, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. Sorry I don't have my mic set up. I just drove up to New Jersey from Savannah, so all my stuff is down there. I hope I'm sounding okay for you.
You're fine,
good,
man.
yeah.
You're
Yeah,
fine.
you're good.
You're good. And it's so interesting because I've watched a couple of your games, and some of the rules over there are very interesting, and I think it's fun, and it makes baseball a little bit funner to watch than what we watch right here in the major leagues, maybe because it's the commissioner or maybe just stupidity. Anyways, what are your thoughts to your rules over in your league, and do you see anything that you would change in the MLB?
Yeah. Full disclosure, I'm as hardcore a baseball guy as any of you. Grew up playing the game, Omaha, Nebraska. Had an arm injury. I was a catcher as well, Mike. I love the game. I taught the game in New York City to youth for 12 plus years. So I'm a baseball guy through and through. What we're doing at the Savannah Bananas, I think, is injecting an element of entertainment and fun that is great for the fans, for the entire family. We also think we're injecting a level of excitement and kind of buy-in from the youth game as well. That's kind of been dwindling for years and years and years. I'm 48 years old. It's been dwindling ever since I've been playing. So what do I think Major League should, adopt from us? I don't think – listen, the rule changes. They want to speed up the game. They have faster games now, right? What I think MLB should do is really care about their fans who are supporting all of these players and paying everybody's bills. And what does that look like? From a Bananas standpoint, we break down all barriers, and we can, because we're not Mike Trout. We're not being paid $300 million a year to play baseball, where some crazy person tackles us, we're out for the year, and all of a sudden the Angels season is done before it even starts again. But just growing up watching Major League Baseball in the 80s, dude, like I used to be able to meet players before the games at Kauffman Stadium. I used to go on the field and be able to meet Steve Farr, who none of you guys know who Steve Farr is, but to me, he was an absolute hero because he was the first Major League Baseball player that I was able to walk up, shake his hand, and be like, wow. That was a big deal for me. And so one thing that we do well that Major League Baseball could do a better job of is allowing the fans to connect with the players in a very, very unique way. It doesn't mean that you need to go full bore, crazy Savannah Bananas where we're up in the stands the whole entire game. You don't need to do that. But there needs to be a really, really intentional effort by MLB to bring the fans into the game a little bit more instead of shutting them out and creating these walls and telling ushers to tell kids they got to sit down. Is this your seat? You can't sit here. And so it's become very elitist at MLB for the way they treat fans. I understand there's a lot of money at play here. Mike, I'd love your opinion on this, but the number one thing is just kind of make it more like spring training where you have a little bit more access to players. You can kind of get a little bit closer and make a connection. That's the number one change I would make if I was commissioner of MLB.
I love everything you're saying. I'm a huge fan advocate. I think the PA and MLB in general have lost sight of that in their big argument at the top. And when you never invite fans to the table to talk, or you never invite, people that are on the ground, and most of those people aren't even willing to say anything. They're not willing to push back because whether it's, their job on the line or whatever it is, it's sad. And I think the fans, you just talked about meeting someone, shaking his hand. You don't get that anymore. There's a net in front of you now. And I think if they found a compromise, something that we brought up when on the last bargaining agreement, and I was trying to get people behind this, was the players want a shorter season. It's never going to happen. And I said, well, let's make up for it in exhibition games. Guys get to decide if they play, and they play with different rules. They do different things. The experience completely changes. And you can get as wild as you want. And I think as Savannah Bananas grows and that league grows, there's no reason not to think that they couldn't be a version of the Globetrotters where they go into cities and they play a series against a team. And whether the big league guys want to do it or not, they have enough players, whether it's, taxi squad guys, where they fill out that roster, they open it up to the fans in a different way, and they can go out and just have a blast. I think it'd be really, really neat to see. And MLB, with the money they have, they can absolutely handle that infrastructure. They can handle that movement. But I think it'd be so cool to see a lot of different versions of baseball being, seen, loved, enjoyed by fans. Because I'm seeing what you guys are doing. I love that you guys played the MLBPA. I've seen what Burnsy's been doing out there. He actually called me. We talked a while back about possibly going out there and getting involved, because there is a joy to it. Now, Adam, I'm going to reiterate what you said. I love the game. Reason I retired and walked away is because I didn't want to fall in love with it, because I saw that it was becoming a non-emotional, non-human being, unpersonal game, and that's not what it is. You fall in love with the player. I mean, I was in love with the Atlanta Braves, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, all that. The Atlanta Braves are one of the best teams of baseball year in, year out, because all those dudes are around, because that's the family they have. Like, it's not the Savannah Bananas, but they have a different type of family just like that. And I think that's what's missing, where the fans connect so wholeheartedly to these guys that you can't not remember when you're a little kid getting to shake, your hero's hand and him signing a ball and say, hey, you'll be here one day. That's what it's all about.
Adam, I just wanted to deflect off of that with Eric Burns. He is your co-coach on the other side with the Savannah Bananas, and he had a great personality as a player too, and now even as an MLB Network analyst before that. So what has it been like with him?
Oh my gosh, man. He's one of the most unique, amazing human beings I've ever met. He's got this loud kind of personality, but that dude is one of the most intelligent people I've ever met, and an absolute savage from an exercise endurance standpoint. Like, this dude never stops running. I'm not kidding you. Like,
he's an ultra runner, right, Adam? Ultra runner? An ultra runner?
Yeah. He's done everything, man. He's a psychopath. He really is. He has a really, really fantastic way of communicating the game and educating our guys about the game. He's damn near perfect for the Savannah Bananas. And
perfect.
He really is. He really is. And he's been a joy to work with. He's phenomenal.
But I just want everybody knows we are talking to former Pirates and Rockies and Cardinals catcher Michael McHenry, and also talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach Adam Viren. You guys, it's so interesting because obviously, Michael, you're an analyst right now for the MLB, and Adam, you're part of a league that's transitioning baseball and trying to bring back a different style of baseball for the community, for families to come and watch and actually enjoy. And that's something like we were talking about. Baseball needs to figure out what is going to drive more fans to come and watch the sport. I mean, at one point in the 90s, before the strike, baseball at one point was bigger than the NFL. And then really after that strike and with the steroid situation and everything like that, guys like Bud Selig was like throwing it under the rug. Meanwhile, it helped the game. Steroids helped the game. We've had a lot of professional baseball players on this show, ex-baseball players. We had Jock Jones on last week, and I asked him, this is a really good question. I said, if you can keep these guys in and playing 162 games, if they did steroids, would you allow them to do it? And he said, they can do whatever they want. It's their bodies. As long as they can do it, and as long as they know the repercussions of it, then that's their decisions. They can do whatever they want. So what are both of your thoughts to it? Would you, if you were running your organization or a big part of the say of your organization, would you allow steroids being used in your sport? Adam, you first.
Take it away, Adam.
Yeah, no, I'll go first. And just speaking from, a Savannah Bananas and Fans First Entertainment, which is our parent company, it would never be anything we condone, because we're all about the youth. We're all about the family. And we don't want to, necessarily do anything that's going to jeopardize a possible child's health or anything like that, right? Like, and so now if I'm with the Pirates, I firmly am on the side of Jock Jones there. Bigger, faster, better, stronger. And, that is very, very exciting. I mean, geez, the Olympics when, in the 80s when everybody was juiced up on horse steroids and everything, like all of us were glued to the 1984 Olympics, right? And so, there's got to be a level playing field, right? If it's allowed, it's allowed. It will never happen in fans first because that just doesn't align with our values. But yeah, man, like I don't want to see guys getting hurt. But geez, when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were going at it, like there was nothing more compelling in sports that I've ever been a part of.
Adam, one more question before we have Michael answer that question. And this is a good question. You look at Barry Bonds. Is Barry Bonds a Hall of Famer before he did steroids? That's one. And is Roger Clemens on a Hall of Famer before he did steroids?
So I'm not a stats guy at all. I'm pretty much an idiot on that stuff. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he did steroids. I mean, what do you have? 3 MVPs for the Pirates. No doubter there. And my bet is if I looked into the stats about Roger Clemens, he probably was as well. I think, it all comes down to stats for Clemens. He was so damn dominant for a long time.
How about you, Michael? Your answer to, the backlash of everybody that's been speaking, all these dumb, stupid writers, by the way, and you heard it, all the writers, and you can attack me on social media because you've done it before. You're all idiots and you're all dumb, and I will tell you right to your face. And by the way, we had Spader on, who every single writer can't stand, by the way. They can't stand. We love him because he'll just tell you right to your face, you're an idiot. So your thoughts, Michael, to the whole steroid thing.
So steroids aside, that's not the only thing that they don't allow you to take. I mean, you can't take so many things that are healthy for your body. And I mean, in today's society, if we want to keep guys on the field, we have to take blood tests. We have to understand their genetics and do different things to take it a bit further. I mean, guys that have the ability to do that, like LeBron James, the guys that spend a ton of money into their body, they can do things different. They can work around the system, but guys that can't, that ability is still there. And they take that away from them. And I don't think steroids is really the thing that we should be looking at. We should be looking at peptides. We should be looking at things that are going to enhance recovery, like an HGH, testosterone as players get older, so those guys can be in the game longer. I mean, for me, I'll go to what Adam said, even with the fan first type mentality that he was talking about, Savannah Bananas, as they grow and play more games, their bodies are going to break down. I want to do everything I can to invest into that body not breaking down. And that's blood tests, that's recovery, that's IVs, that's everything I can possibly do holistically with the nutritional aspect, with the supplementation aspect. But if I know this guy is low in these areas because his blood's telling me, and I intervene because we have that ability, but oh yeah, I can't because it's not approved by the hierarchy system that we have of the elitists that don't work out, that don't play, that don't do anything of the aspect of getting on the field and actually doing it. So I think it boils down to they're always right and never wrong, and there's no accountability. And that's the problem with a lot of, big companies and a lot of, big sports. They think they know everything. I mean, the reality of it is, if those guys are taking in small doses and with medical supervision some of this stuff, it would really enhance their ability to stay on the field. And there's no fan in the world that doesn't want to see Mike Trout on the field, doesn't want to see Bryce Harper on the field, doesn't want to see Ohtani stay on the field. Now, would that prevent his UCL? I don't know, but I know for a fact that with all the therapies out there, it would have given him a better chance to stay on the field, be productive at an elite level, especially for a long time. And that's the problem. And the worst part of it is some guys even get a TUE to use some of the stuff that other guys aren't allowed. And that's when it gets really funky for me, because they get to pick. There's no rhyme, reason. They get to choose the reason. There's no true vote. You have to be approved. You have to understand it. And then you have to be approved by the MLB's doctors who you never meet. And that's tough for me to understand, because if you are Barry Bonds and you get approved and you take off, and then all of a sudden they take it away, they could just throw you on the bus, say, oh, well, now it's not approved. We're going to take that away from you. And you're like, well, I'm just going to keep taking it. And then you fail. It's on you, not them. And that's not okay. And I think they could change that system a lot and kind of get up to speed with where everything is now, and I think it'd be better for the game.
I will tell you this: human growth hormones. If Ohtani actually, with his UCL injury, if he actually used human growth hormones, he probably wouldn't need surgery on his
Correct.
arm.
Yeah.
That's a fact. And if you
Fact.
look at it, and I've seen tests be done on documentaries, and so many doctors have approved the thought. And by the way, Andy Pettit, who I have a lot of respect for.
Hey, real quick, all those guys should be in the Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
Yes. It
No
should,
question.
if you want to put an asterisk or whatever you want to do, it's a part of the history, and that's what Hall of Fame is, right? Who are the best players in what era? It was a different area.
Controversy anyway.
Yeah, and Adam, you probably played during that time, just like I did. I mean, there were so many dudes. Like I was at the very end phase of it. They started all the testing when I got drafted, but like there's more dudes taking it that never made it, or that got a cup of coffee, or that just touched the big leagues, that took away time from guys that didn't. And I think that's the biggest harm of it all. Not the big boppers that were already hitting 30 homers and, oh, by the way, now they're hitting 40 and 50. It's the guys that, got time that took it away from guys that didn't.
Also, if you look at the analytics with steroids, they did an analytic thing on Alex Rodriguez and Speedy. We had somebody on the show, and he was talking about the analytics, and he said if Alex Rodriguez never did steroids, he still would have hit over 600 home runs. He still would have batted almost hit 300.
That's assuming when he started.
Yeah, well, we don't know, but he's still a Gold Glove, unbelievable shortstop. I mean, the guy was a fantastic athlete. Now, a lot of people don't like him, and that's fine. You don't have to like people. He was still a special player. And we've had guys that have been in the minor leagues that never came to the major leagues, and they said, guess what? I did steroids and it never got me into the major leagues. So I don't know why anybody is going to attack it if they are doing steroids in the major leagues. So
Unless you're Robinson Cano, then it's just fun.
well, Robinson Cano is another Yankee, so we like it. Jason Giambi, another Yankee. Do we want to go deeper in that? Oh, because we
except when he got caught, he was a Met. Because of course he was.
Well, he's from New York, so there you go. Well, he's from the Dominican Republic, but he played in New York.
Yes,
so.
with some random drug that we never knew about.
It was a dog tranquilizer. That's what it was.
Nah.
No, Speedy's well versed in dog tranquilizers.
That's
yes. He knows all about them.
I would hope I would not do that to my dog. I hope I would not stoop so low.
Yeah, we know who you do it to, Speedy. We get it.
All right, before we get to weird conversations about my dog, back to Banana Ball. Because I want to know these two rules, Adam. These are two rules that I was fascinated with. Number 5, there was 11 rules on the list. Number 5, batters could attempt to steal first base at any point during their at bat, which was very interesting. And number 6, walks are called sprints. After ball 4, the batter is allowed to advance around the bases, and the ball is to be sequentially thrown around the infield. So describe those two rules.
Speedy likes balls, so just so you know.
Stealing first base. I don't know why it's not a rule in Major League Baseball. I think it should. On a pitch, like a wild pitch, pass ball, batters can take off first base, and it becomes a force out at first base, so there's no like slide collision, anything weird like that. When it happens in one of our games, it's one of the most exciting things. You hear the crowd just like it just starts roaring, and then he hits first base, if it's closer out, whatever. They go crazy. It is truly amazing, and it's honestly a cheat code.
I love that, by the way. Former catcher, I know you love that. Takes more pride in keeping in front, right? It's awesome.
It's really funny. When we played the Alumni Association, John Buck was catching, and I was like, yo, dude, hey, if a ball gets by you, don't just put your hand up for another ball. You better go get it because that, the run
he's taking off.
Yeah, it's a pretty great rule, and there's actually some strategy in it. The way we score our game, and then I'll get onto the ball four sprint. The way we score our games is every inning matters. So whoever scores the most amount of runs in a game in an inning gets a point for that inning. So if the visiting team scores 5 runs and the Bananas score 1 run, it's not 5-1 going into the second inning. It's 1-0. And so if you have a runner on base, and you just need to move that run across the plate to win the inning. Yeah, man, that runner better take off running, even if the catcher catches the ball, to kind of create some confusion on the base paths. We haven't really uncracked it, but we started. It's It's a fun rule, man. It really is.
That's
And
awesome.
then
I love that.
yeah, ball four sprint. Okay, so the most unathletic play in all of sports is when a Major League Baseball player walks. Okay, ball four is called. They take their time. They undress themselves. They give it to the bat boy, and they literally walk to first base. It takes them 55 seconds.
Unless you're Brandon Nimmo and sprints there anyway.
There you go. Yeah, right. So in banana ball, it turns into a sprint. The umpire will call ball four sprint. He puts both of his hands above his head, and I'll explain why. The batter takes off running. The batter can get as many bases as he possibly can until the ball becomes active and he gets tagged out. The way the ball becomes active or live is the defense has to throw the ball around to every single player on the field before it becomes live. Once it becomes live, the umpire drops his hands. Now the runner knows, okay, I'm at risk of being tagged out. It doesn't need to go in any order, but the pitcher catcher already touched the ball. But all the infielders, all the outfielders have to touch the ball before it comes live. We've gotten really, really good at it. And actually, we credit Eric Burns for really diving into this and cracking the code. You have to be an above average runner to get to second base if there's a clean transfer around the defense. Otherwise, you're going to be out. If there's a misthrow on defense, it'll turn into a triple or a home run. It's it's tons of fun, man. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. If you're a slow runner, you can try to induce a throw over to first base, get in a run down, and maybe have that runner from third score. But, like we've all heard that walks kill. In banana ball, walks really, really kill.
We were talking about we were making fun of Daniel Vogelbach earlier. Maybe Daniel Vogelbach, when he's cut from whatever and wherever he ends up going at the end of his Mets contract, he go to the Savannah Bananas, then he'll try to eat bananas instead.
Oh my God!
Hey, I got a question for Adam.
Go ahead.
What are a couple rules or things that you think would carry over into affiliated ball or Major League Baseball with Savannah ball?
Yeah, I think stealing first base is a big deal.
I love that one. I absolutely love it.
I love fan catching a foul ball as an out. The fan engagement and what I talked about earlier, how do you get the fans more involved at the MLB level? Dude, they'll never leave their seats. They won't leave early. If they're sitting in a seat until the ninth inning, which most of them are leaving in the seventh inning when it's a blowout, they're buying more stuff if they're sitting in that seat.
No doubt.
If they make an out, right? I don't think we'll ever see if a fan catches a foul ball being an out. We are introducing a new rule in 2024 called the Golden Batter Rule. Okay, so think Shohei Ohtani facing Mike Trout in the World Baseball Classic. Was there a better matchup? I mean, very few, but we were all glued. So the Golden Batter Rule is one time a game, either team can send any batter to the plate in any situation.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So in banana ball, think about this. We're playing for points. We're playing for innings, right? And so I got a runner on second and third in my 8-9, and we bat 10, by the way, because we have entertainers. We can get to that. But my 8, 9, 10 hitters that are just anemic, I can send my 3-hitter up there to destroy a baseball and win an inning. Or how about this? I need to win an inning. You get my 3-hitter out, and I send him right back up again to face you.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. So the Golden Batter Rule is really interesting. I do think that another rule that could be fun. It's a little aggressive on our end, but is how we our showdowns, our tiebreakers. Instead of just sending a runner out to second base and seeing what happens here, ours are called showdowns. And so there's 3 rounds of showdowns if the score is tied after time runs out, and we are on a clock as well, 2-hour time clock in banana ball. So if the game is tied after 2 hours, showdowns, it's one batter, one defensive player, and a catcher versus a batter. Okay, the batter has to get it inside the park home run to score a point. The defensive player has to start on the infield grass right around second base. So they release once the ball's hit. And it usually turns into a nice cutoff, a relay for a really close play at the plate. And if you can't, if you haven't picked up yet what banana ball is all about, we're trying to create the most amount of excitement in every single play. So we want that play at the plate. And so if they score that point, or if they hit a home run out of the ballpark, the game's that's an automatic walkout. But and it's only happened once. It happened this year. The party animals, our nemesis, hit an absolute tank to walk us off in Boston. But yeah, if they score that run, or if we blank them, the home team has a chance to win it or to tie it up. And there's 3 rounds of that. The second round is we remove the defensive player. The third round is we load the bases because we need to get to a final resolution. So I think that's kind of a really, really cool tiebreaker. And quite frankly, I'd stay to the end of a game to see Bryce Harper go up and do showdowns against anybody.
Scratch what I said earlier. That is the officially new coolest rule.
That's
cool.
A cool rule. I'd like to see that the MLB inherit that, but Rob Manfred's running the MLB, and
that's where those exhibitions could come in to where it's a win-win. You still get all the games, but 20 games a year, they just throw everything out the window and just go out and do their thing. Like however they want to do it, implement different rules, do different things, but really have fan engagement.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to touch on that really quick. So back when I met Steve Farr, I didn't know who he was. We're a bunch of nobodies on the Bananas and the Party Animals. Nobody knows us. We're wearing a Bananas uniform or we're wearing a Party Animals uniform. That does not matter to the child or the fans that are coming. It doesn't matter. So if you have those exhibition games where you're sending a bunch of taxi squad players or just some players that need more reps, they're wearing the major league uniform. They're wearing the crest. That's all that matters. It may not be Bryce Harper, but you know what? Dude, it could be anybody, and that is fan engagement at the highest level. And those lower level players that maybe don't get a lot of love during games because whatever, nobody knows them, they will lean right in. Those are the best ones to send out to the fans, quite frankly.
You know what? Thank you for saying that, because so often, that's what it's all about. Everybody wants to see the big time guys. I'm like, you don't know who this guy is. And if they're going out there fighting for their life, if they get rewarded, say it's an extra couple grand or whatever it is to play this game and they're in the minor leagues, they're going to go out and wear it out. And then if they're a fan favorite, you have no idea where that could go for that player or that kid that's watching him, seeing him go at it. That's such an important point. That's well said. And too often we forget, there's these superstars, but there's way more guys that, maybe get a cup of coffee, never make it, or in the big leagues, you don't know who they are. And it's the jersey that matters. Yep. I want to do what that guy's doing on that field. That doesn't matter what field. I mean, I'm sure you know this feeling, Adam, first time someone asked you for your autograph. Mine was in high school, and I'll never forget it. And I don't even know if they knew what they were doing or if they even asked the right person. But that humbling moment made me think about forevermore, I'll sign every autograph. And I still do to today because that little kid humbled me. And I was like, wow. And I still do it. And that's what it's all about, because those are the people that ultimately show up for you every single day, love on you, hate you, all of it. And it's like a stepbrother for you, and you got to embrace it. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. The autographs is a big part of Banana Ball as well. At the end of every game, every player and cast member, like our entertainers and whatnot, we go out to the plaza and we have a plaza party. Every single fan can meet their favorite player, get their autograph, take photos, engage with them. And we will sign every single autograph until every single fan is gone. And, that was a lot easier to do when we were only playing 5,000 or 6,000 seat stadiums. But, now we're playing AAA, and next year we're going to 6 major league stadiums. My goodness, signing 40,000 autographs after, a long day is going to be challenging. But it's not about me. It's about the fans. And it's why the Savannah Bananas are very, very relevant and why this works, man. But yeah, those autographs, they don't, dude, this, some kid will hand you a baseball and there's 55 autographs on there. It looks like Sharpie just all over it. They do not care. They don't care. It's about that moment. It's about the feeling. It's about the engagement. That's all.
Are you guys going to Miami or Oakland? You might get more fans than their actual teams will get.
We actually are. We're going to go to Miami. We're ending our season in Miami, and then we hop on a cruise, and we're doing a first ever Banana Land at Sea cruise with all of our players.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, you guys brought up autographs, and I told a story because I would say almost a year ago, I was in a 7-Eleven, and it was late at night. It was like 12:30 at night, and I'm getting my Slurpee because every other night I go and get a Slurpee. I need some kind of energy. I can't sleep. So I'm going to get a Slurpee, and some guy is looking at me. He's staring at me, and I think to myself, I'm like, that guy might have some major problems. So I go up to the 7-Eleven guy up on the thing. I say, that guy is like staring at me. He says, do you know that guy? He's like, I don't know who he is, So I'm buying it. I'm walking out, and the guy comes up. He's like, I know you. And I said, I don't know how you know me, but how do you know me? He says, are you the guy that does that show with that guy Speedy? And I said, yeah. Yes, that's me. And he's like, my son is a big fan of your show, including Speedy. Could I get a picture of you? And for a second there, I'm like, I think this guy's a psychopath. Maybe I should just take a picture with him so I can get the hell out of here. So I take a picture with him. The 7-Eleven guy's taking a picture of him. I'm waving like I got a stick up my ass. And I'm walking out, and I'm jumping in my car. I'm trying to get the hell out of there. Guy comes right out. He's like, yo, wait a second. I'm standing. Oh, here we go. And then all of a sudden he says, could you sign my Chicago Cubs hat for my son? I'm like, I'm not a Chicago Cub fan. I'm not signing that. I'm nobody. He's like, my son would absolutely love it. So I signed the thing. I walk right out. I tell the story to my mother, the next day. And it's like, I signed my first autograph as a radio guy. And I told her the story. She says, man, I thought the guy was like some kind of psychopath. He was hiding behind the crispy Kreme stuff or whatever the hell it was. It was like peeking like a movie. I was like, what the hell is that guy doing? He's hiding under, behind like donuts or something. It was the weirdest thing. So I can understand when somebody wants your autograph, you give them the time, you give them the energy, because you don't know who it's going to make happy. So I agree with you guys. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you made Speedy's tranquilizer dealer happy.
Let me tell you something about Speedy. Speedy, there's so many people throughout the country that don't know. They've heard of him, but they've heard his voice, but they never get a chance. And when they meet him, they're like, I have people. I've gone to like clubs and stuff because I'm a DJ, and they know who I am, and they ask me, it's like, yo, where's Speedy? And I'm like, I don't know. He's producing something. I mean, he's doing our audio. I don't know what he's doing. He's like, yo, that guy is unbelievable. You tell him, keep up the good work. He's out of his mind.
Speedy's a legend.
According to what Michael's saying, I might leave him with a tranquilizer for all I know.
Speedy, you know I love you, buddy. You know I love you.
According to you, I'm going to turn into Michael Vick with tranquilizers.
Hey, Adam, we got to get Speedy in a Bananas in a Bananas game at some point. I don't know if he just helps broadcast or what, but like I think
he's awesome. I will tell you this: play-by-play, we've done 495, the elite. We get invited. I do the color because I'm the crazy one, and Speedy does the play-by-play wise. I am telling you right now, when it comes to baseball, when it comes to football, this guy knows everything. He'll stand there. The only thing I tell him all the time, don't stand up, because every time he stands up, he grabs his crotch. Okay. And I say, dude, you do not want to do that in front of people. Sit down. You could grab whatever you want. Just make sure there's something under you when you're doing it.
I will gladly broadcast a showdown, though. That does sound like a cool concept.
But he is one of the best play-by-play guys. I'm not lying to you. He is awesome. And people tell me all the time, he's like, wow, he doesn't even know these guys. They give him his names. He doesn't even know anything. And I tell them, just give us a little bit about your son. What is his favorite color? What is he like? And Speedy's like telling the story. And I'm sitting there, I was like, how the hell do you know? I'm on the thing. I'm like, what the hell do you know? They gave you a couple of sentences about the guy. And he's telling, well, his favorite color is blue. His dog's name is Carrie. I'm like,
it was much more detailed than 4 years ago. At least they progressed from that. But yes, I would love to broadcast a banana ball showdown inside the park versus defender duel.
Yeah, I think you could do an alternate broadcast. Burnsy does it, and it's absolutely hilarious from time to time. just hop on there, and we got great broadcasters actually. Bika Scala, who's a Syracuse guy from New York.
Oh, we heard of him. Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job, and Josh Shalevsky, who they just added in as a stats guy, they have fun with it. I mean, geez, we're all just a bunch of kids, in quotes, just having fun and seeing where this thing goes, man. We got to get you guys to a game, honestly.
Absolutely, we would love to come.
Do you guys come up this way? Northeast.
Where are you?
I'm in Pittsburgh now.
You're in Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
So, we're going to play at Citizens Bank Park next year. I know that's all the way across the state for you. We'll be in Indianapolis, which, the other way. Columbus, Ohio, which might be close to you.
Yeah, it was actually just right around there. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll definitely come out at some point.
Speedy will send your information to both of you, and you guys stay in touch.
Phenomenal.
That would be great. Speedy will do that.
Yeah, and Adam, if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. I'm with you. I love the game. I feel like I should give back to it. It gave so much to me. I'm a purist. Same thing with you guys. If y'all ever need anything,
absolutely.
I like to help the good people win. I think that's what
Errol's going to end up in Philadelphia during the World Series game.
Hold on.
The Phillies collapse.
Hold on. Everybody asks me, like, whenever we get signed, wherever we go, because I don't want to be here in New York, because everybody tells me all the time, like, where are you going to go? And I talk to my agent, and I tell my agent all the time, I'm like, just get me a job somewhere where there's a big city. Okay. I'll go anywhere. I just don't want to be here in New York. He says, New York's one of the biggest cities. I was like, you know why I don't want to be here in New York? Because for me, sitting here and listening to the crybabies of New York fans, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'll go anywhere. I'll go to Chicago. I'll go to LA. I'll go to Pittsburgh. I'll go wherever. I just want to talk sports, and I want to be the voice. I want to be the biggest radio show host in the country, and I want to make people laugh. I want people to love sports radio. I think sports radio has been absolutely washed with garbage, and I think the one thing that we like to do is we want to make people laugh. We want to entertain people. That's the whole point of radio. That's the whole point of what we do here, is to entertain people. That's it.
So the thing I directly was referring to is last week we had Shane Green on, who was a relief pitcher. I don't know if you faced him, Mike. He was in the American League. I think he was with the Tigers when you were playing. But he was saying how the Phillies were the most fun team in baseball. The Philadelphia fans were the best in baseball. And if the Phillies went to the World Series, they were going to go to the World Series game. But I think they won Game 5 after that, and then they jinxed them after that.
First of all, I didn't jinx them. Shane jinxed them, all right? And I told him, if the Philadelphia Phillies go to the World Series, I'll meet you in Philly, and we will go to a World Series together. And he says, I'm in. And then all of a sudden, they started to lose.
I think they won Game 5, and they just collapsed after that.
And I said, Shane, you're a jinx, okay? That's it. You're a jinx. And I said, but I'm still going to vouch for you, and I hope that one of our New York teams bring you in. He's looking for a job. So if anybody knows, if anybody has any connections with any of these major league, GMs, well, reach out for Shane, because I love the kid. He's a great kid, and I still think he has something left. So, but we really appreciate you guys. You guys are fantastic. Thank you, Adam. This is the first time you've been on a show. We would love to come to a Savannah Banana game. So we would love to. Yeah,
let's make it happen, guys. This was a blast, and man, I'm big fans now, and I'm going to be tuning in. Bring me back on, sometime. I'll bring some special guests with me.
Absolutely, we'd love to. And
I've been trying to get Eric Burns on too, so maybe you can.
There you go. There you go. We'll get you and Eric on, and Michael McHenry. Could you imagine all three of you guys talking a little baseball? That would be fun. I mean, Michael's been on our show before. We loved him, and I told Speedy we got to get him on again. And Michael has his very good. No wonder why he does play-by-play, and he works for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Is his personality, and it's great, because I think the one thing that I think even New York sports is missing, even the play-by-play guys, everybody says we got the best, and I love Michael Kay. I love him. He's been around for a long time. Please retire already. Give me somebody else. I don't want to hear it anymore. It gives me a headache. I'm tired. And then they have Ryan Rucco. Come on. I mean, it's horrible. And, me and Ryan have been back and forth on social media. I'm not a big fan of Ryan. Ryan's not a big fan of mine. And I don't give a crap if he likes me or not. To me, I speak the truth. And if they don't like it, they can kiss my ass. And that's what I tell them. And if they don't, And by the way, Craig Carton and all those idiots that have held me back on where I was going when it came to WFN, they could kiss my ass too, because he's another idiot. So I don't care, and I think baseball should be respected a little bit more than it is. And I think people forget it's baseball's it's sports pastime. It's everything. Where everything transition, it came from baseball. I don't care what anybody says. So. We're trying to, we try to promote it. We bring all these ex-baseball players on. We try to bring all these different coaches, analysts, college coaches on, because we want baseball to stand out just as much as any other sport. So we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. Really appreciate it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Michael McHenry, as always, ex-Rockies, Cardinals, and Pirates, obviously catcher, but by the way, also analyst, fantastic. And obviously, we were just talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach, Adam Viren. So thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Speedy will be in touch, and we'll tune in very, very soon. I would love to go to Savannah Banana game, so we will definitely be in contact with you guys. Speedy,
especially the showdown.
Speedy, also hook them up. Hook them up, Speedy. Hook them up.
Yes.
And keep your dog away from your ass. Let's go. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you guys. Nice meeting you, Adam.
Speedy, hook them up, okay? That's what do. Oh, man, it's been a good show. It's been a great show. I really loved our guests, by the way. Yeah. We got them on at the same time. It was fun.
Yes, fun discussion. Savannah Bananas, we expect it to be fun, and we know Michael always fun with everything, and now accusing me of using dog tranquilizers.
There you go. Dog tranquilizers for good old Speedy.
I am basically Michael Vick with a syringe, according to his logic.
I like that.
Of course
Michael
you do.
Vick with a syringe.
Well, that's the logic he applied to that.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready to do our picks? Because we have about 13 minutes.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes. Let's do our picks. So
I don't know what's going on with the game. I've been trying to watch the game. We had it on, and now there it is. Now when it went to the half. Okay, so there you go.
All right. So you had the Bills tonight or the Bucks?
I have the Bills.
So yeah, I had the Bills as well. So we'll go to the Sunday slate of games. We'll start with the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins in Miami.
Which the Patriots play very well at. So, by the way,
46.5 is the over-under for this one. I'm definitely going under on this one. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. The Patriots offense did show a little bit last week against the Bills, but the Bills defense has been very depleted. Miami, they're finding their groove a little bit defensively, but they still struggle with tight ends. I think the Patriots will keep it close for that reason, but I think Miami's offense will bounce back after last week. I'll take the Miami Dolphins close on the under.
I think the game will be close, Speedy. I really do. But the Dolphins are a team that's had problems against the Patriots in Miami, and the Patriots, I know it's not Tom Brady, but I think the game will be close. I think Mac Jones showed you something last week, and I think the Patriots running game is waking up, and that's something that the Patriots need moving forward if they have any plans to make it in the playoffs. And by the way, the Patriots need this game. This is another divisional game. If the Patriots win this game, they're 3-0 in the division. That says a lot about where the Patriots are and where the Patriots could be at the end of the season. But I have the Dolphins. The Dolphins came off a game that, was not Dolphin-like, okay? But I expect them to show up this week. I think Tyreek will have a big game. I think Waddle will have a big game, and I think they'll be able to run the ball against the Patriots defense. Give me the Dolphins on the money line.
All righty. The Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers battle of the number 1 and number 2 overall picks in the draft. The number 2 pick has obviously looked better so far, but Bryce Young has played well in recent weeks.
I bet you they win, by the way.
I think the Texans will win, but I do think it'll be closer than people expect because the Texans defense does struggle with running quarterbacks. I think Young will be able to use his mobility in this game. You've seen him throw on the run a lot better in recent weeks too. I just don't know if the Panthers have the wide receivers to be able to stretch the field either. So I'm going to take the Texans. It will be close. I'm going to take them on the over.
I really want to go with the Carolina Panthers, and being that this could be Young's first win against, in the NFL and against the team, the player and the team that he could have went to. But I'm not going to do it. CJ Stroud has been fantastic. He hasn't thrown that many interceptions. I think he's thrown 1 interception.
Yep.
I think they've run the ball very well. They've got weapons all over the field, and they have a coach that should be up for Coach of the Year who's been fantastic and really been one of the leaders that I didn't expect. So give me the Texans. on the money line.
All right, the LA Rams and the Dallas Cowboys, 45.5, the over-under.
I know where you're going.
I'm going to disagree with Chaz on this one. I'm going with the Rams because I think the Cowboys do not have the corners to be able to stretch the field against Puka, who has 752 receiving yards, and Cooper Kupp. And the Rams' offensive line has actually been a pleasant surprise. They've looked better. They looked good against the Steelers last week. They weren't able to run the ball greatly, but that was what Kyron Williams heard. I like the Rams to pull off the upset here on the over.
I got the Cowboys. They're home. I think Dak Prescott will have a better game going into a home game. And by the way, the Cowboys need this win. They're 4-2. They're trying to catch Philadelphia. They're 5-1. And right now it's back and forth. It's back and forth. If the Cowboys could win and if the Eagles could fall off in one of these games, especially a divisional game, and the Cowboys still have two games, I think one or two games left to play the Eagles. I think they have
to play both. Yeah.
Both games. So the Cowboys could win both those games. And if they win both those games, they can win the division. I like the Cowboys. I don't like their secondary. I think the Rams will be in this game, but I think the Cowboys, being that it's home and the Cowboys are a very good home team, I think the Cowboys will win a close game. Give me the Cowboys.
All right, the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers, 41.5, the over-under for this one. The Vikings very impressive last week against the 49ers on Monday Night Football, but it is a short week traveling to Green Bay. The Packers, their defense has kept them close in games. Jordan Love has not looked great, but I feel like this is also an ideal letdown spot for Minnesota. I'm going to temper my expectations with Jordan Addison, who went the big game against the 49ers against Jair Alexander too. So I'm going to go with the Packers in this one on the under.
You're going with the Packers. All right. I'm going with the Vikings, okay? I'm not going with the Packers. I don't care if they're home. I'm not a big Jordan Love fan. I think he's overrated. He's proven to be overrated. For all those Packer fans out there that thought he was the next Aaron Rodgers, boy, oh boy, you have seen nothing yet. But I love what I saw with Kirk Cousins. I think Addison's going to have a big game. He will be playing. I know they said he was coming off an injury during the game. I've heard that he will play in this game. They're 3-4. They need this win. They're in a division that they still could win. Give me Minnesota.
All righty. The New Orleans,
on the money line.
New Orleans Saints, Indianapolis Colts. The over-under is 43.5. Colts are impressive without Anthony Richardson the last couple weeks. Their defense has been better than expected in some areas. The Saints defense has been really good too. And I do think you also have Alvin Kamara back. Now, Chris Olave, he was distracted he had a whole DUI situation too. How in his head will he be in that game too? Derek Carr still hasn't looked great, but the Saints had a lot of rest after the loss to Jacksonville long week. I'm going to take them in a close game on the under.
Yeah, the Saints?
Saints, yep.
I have the Saints too. If they had Richardson on this team, I'm going to take the Colts.
I would too, yeah.
I love what the Colts have done so far this year. I love what they're doing with Moss. Moss is running the ball. They're not using Taylor, Jonathan Taylor, who got the big contract. It's been all Moss, and I think Moss could be a trade chip one way or another at the trade deadline if they want a significant amount back for him. You could get a second-round draft pick, or you can get a player if you think that you're a playoff team or contender. I don't think they're a playoff contender now that they lost Richardson, but I like the Saints. The Saints have not been very good the last couple of weeks. Derek Carr has not looked good, and Derek Carr needs to stop blaming people because he is the quarterback, he's the leader, and he's making the money. So stop complaining, stop bitching, and go out there and play the game. But I have the Saints in the game going into Indianapolis and pulling off the upset because a lot of people have the Colts, but I say it's an upset because I think it'll be a lot closer than people think. Give me the Saints on the money line.
All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is 40.5, and I like the under in this one, definitely. I love both these defenses.
This is going to be a great game.
Yeah, both these defenses have played very well. Jacksonville in that front seven has been lethal. The Steelers' offensive line's had a lot of issues this year. Jacksonville been good at stopping the run. The Steelers were able to run against the Rams last week. I don't think they'll be able to do so again this week. The Steelers, I think, will be able to stretch the field, but Kenny Pickett's had some issues with turnovers too. So I'm going to take Jacksonville. It'll be close on the under.
I'm going to go quick here because we have to fill this in. I'm going with the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are the better team. I love what I see with the Steelers. I love what TJ Watt has done. I think he's Defensive Player of the Year. He's been fantastic. He's been as dominant as force. And by the way, everybody saying that somebody over there with Dallas was the best defensive player in the league.
Oh, yeah.
And only one player in Mr. Watt in the Watt family came out and said, you forgot the guy in Pittsburgh. But I think TJ Watt has been the best defensive player right now throughout the league in the first 6 weeks. But the Jaguars have been unbelievable and really unstoppable in the last couple of weeks. And the defense is actually playing well. And they have been better than the offense. So give me the Jaguars going into Pittsburgh and shocking the Pittsburgh Steelers fans and give it to me on the money line.
All right, Atlanta Falcons at the Tennessee Titans, 36.5 the over-under, very low one, but I'm going to go with the under in this one because Mike Vrabel knows Arthur Smith. It was their offensive coordinator. Usually I give the head coach the benefit with that, and Atlanta's defense, like we were talking about before, has been really good. I'm going to take the Falcons. It'll be very close on the under.
I got the Falcons too, and I don't think the Titans are any good. They're trading away all their pieces. They gave away one of their best safeties, best secondary players. They're all pro safety. I can't see them. I can't see them winning this game. Give me the Falcons on the money line.
All right, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders.
Can we stop? Just go.
All right.
Just go.
You got a blowout?
I think the Eagles are going to run right through them.
All right, so we're both thinking the same way. All right, let's go to the New York Jets at the New York Giants. The over-under 36.5. I want to pick the Giants because their defense has been so good in recent weeks, but their offense still has not given me enough to trust. They scored 9 points against the Bills, who just allowed 29 to the Patriots, and they just underwhelmed last week, even though they won against a bad Washington team. So I think the Jets will win this game 17-7 on a very big under.
I am absolutely scared about this game. I don't trust Zach Wilson at all. The Giants have played well. Saquon Barkley is healthy, and the Jets have had problems against power backs. And Saquon's one of the best in the league and has a lot of speed on the outside that can actually catch the ball, which the Jets have had problems against catching backs as well. So I think this game will be a lot closer. I want to say that the Giants could sneak and win this game, but I'm going to go with my Jets. I think the Jets will win the game. I think it'll be close. I think Zach Wilson will throw at least an interception or maybe even fumble the ball in this game and give it away and maybe give the Giants a chance to score on that. But I think the Jets offense will be good. Garrett Wilson will have a touchdown in this game, and Breece Hall will run all over this Giants defense. Give me the Jets on the money line.
All right, another quickie. We have the Ravens over Arizona, I'm assuming.
Yes.
All right, so we both agree on that one. The Cleveland Browns and the Seattle Seahawks, 39.5. This will be close game too. PJ Walker, like you're saying, has played well. Seattle's defense still leaving some to be desired, but they do have done better with the outside receivers, which I think will help against the Browns too. And I think their receivers will be able to stretch the field too and protect. So I'm going to take the Seahawks in this game on the over.
I'm going with the Browns. I think the Browns defense has been unbelievable the last couple of weeks. And I like what I've seen with PJ Walker. And I think they believe in PJ Walker, and that's why Deshaun Watson is not playing this week. I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think Kareem Hunt has looked really, really good. And I think Amari Cooper will be better than he was last week. We hope. So give me Cleveland on the money.
All right, you have the Chiefs or the Broncos? I know you've always been picking against the Chiefs. All right, I have the Chiefs as well. All right, let's go to the Bengals and the 49ers, 43.5 the over-under. This will be close too. I think the Bengals, I would pick them to win in normal circumstances because the 49ers have lost a little bit, but I think the bye week is going to hurt their momentum. They were finally getting on a hot streak, and that offensive line has still been an issue. So I'm going to go with the 49ers in a close one on the over.
I'm going with the Bengals. I just don't trust this 49ers team. Sam Darnold, I don't know about that. If he starts in this game, Brock Purdy is not in the game. And even if he was in the game, I think Joe Burrow is figuring things out. I think this defense is going to figure things out. And this offensive line has played better. Give me the Bengals on the money line.
All right, Sunday Night Football, 46.5.
This is
Bears and the Chargers. I'm just going to make this quick. Chargers blowout.
I think it'll be a lot closer because I like what the Bears have done. I really do. No Justin Fields, no problem. I think they knocked off a Las Vegas Raider team that should have won that game, and they dominated that game. I think they'll be in this game. I think the defense will keep it close, but I got the Chargers.
All right, another one that could be a blowout. The Raiders you were just talking about against the Lions. I got the Lions.
I think the game will be close. I think the game will be close, yes. I think the game will be close. I think the Raiders have been a lot better than they showed last week. Just say that. But I like the Lions. The Lions lost last week. I don't see them losing back-to-back weeks. Give me the Lions.
All right, so those are two easy money lines for me, and you have closer than expected with those primetime games.
Yeah.
But you did not pick the Giants, even though I thought you were hinting at it.
I wanted
it is
to.
Interesting.
I wanted to because I don't want to. I don't want the Giants to win. I mean, a Jets fan. Everybody knows I'm a Jets fan, but I just think the Jets are so much better than the Giants and so much more talent. I can't see. I'll repeat myself. I can't see the Giants winning this game unless Saquon goes crazy in this game. So I don't.
Or Darren Waller, because the Jets have struggled with tight ends in the past.
Yeah, I think the Jets will find a way to keep him at bay. They did it with Travis Kelce, so I expect them to do it with Darren Waller.
Mm-hmm.
And Travis Kelce's a much better tight end than Darren Waller. So I think the Jets will figure that out. I think Adams is healthy. I think he's played very well against fast tight ends and athletic tight ends. So I think Darren Waller will be held at bay. It's Saquon Barkley that I'm worried about. So And those secondary guys, if somehow they get lucky and they don't have pot hands. So,
well, yeah. So the sad part is they all have pot hands, so
Well,
you're
that's
probably
true.
okay with that.
yes, that's true.
But don't worry, the Giants. If the Giants win, you could blame Derek again because he had a bet for the Jets with Brees Hall. So
please.
congratulations to Brees Hall rushing for 67 yards
And then losing. So thank you.
Yeah, he'll have some kind of fumble or something on a big run.
I don't want to know. But thank you to our very special guest, former Pirates, Rockies, and Cardinals catcher, Michael McHenry, for joining us as always. And thank you to our second guest who joined us together, which that was the first time we ever did that. Thank you to Savannah Bananas co-head coach, Adam Virant, for joining us too. He was fantastic too, and gave us their thoughts of both their games, from the MLB to Savannah Banana baseball. And I would love to go see a Savannah baseball game. So that'll be fun. And reach out to them, ask them if he can hook us up, and we will drive over there. Where's Savannah Banana? Where are they going to be?
I guess they originated in Georgia, Savannah, but they're
going to
like
be
Adam
all
was
over.
saying, they travel.
So find out where they're going to be, see if you can get us some tickets, and meet, hang out with the players.
Hey, so there'll be
interview the
6
players.
MLB stadiums this year too, which is very cool.
Let's go hang out with them, man. I'd love to meet Burns and have a little fun with them. So, and Michael McHenry, we love him. Thank you as always. And Mike is a fantastic personality. We love what he does over there with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I've been watching a couple of Pirate games this year, getting a chance to listen to Mike. And Mike's a nice guy, and I think he's fantastic. He knows the game of baseball just as much and just as good as anybody. So thank you to Mike for joining us as always. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you to all the fans tuning in all over the country, all over the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to Jeff to pissing me off even more. So thank you, Jeff. I don't see Matty Caps anymore. Matty Caps opened his big fat mouth about Jeff being free. He's finally freed from our jail, and no Matty Caps. So thank you to Matty for pissing me off even more. I bet you Jeff forced him to do that. Jeff, who keeps saying that I talk about him all the time. I don't give a crap about Jeff. I really don't. I should send him a nice giant beef wild boar or something like that, and tell him to eat it and stuff his friggin' face. Okay. But again, thank you to all the fans. Listen to us on 103.9 FM. Islanders playing Saturday.
I'll find out.
Yes. But our show should be on at 7 o'clock. I don't think the Islanders playing Saturday. I don't, but I could be wrong.
Now they are.
Oh, so there you go. So you can listen to us after the Islander game on Saturday, but listen to our pregame of the Islanders on Saturday. The Islanders were up tonight. I don't know what the score is right now. I'll check it right now for all the Islander fans out there. Why do they give me I put Islanders and they put me on.
They're up 3-2 right now.
So there you go.
About 6 minutes to go in the third.
Who's in the goal?
I'm not sure.
Probably Varlamov, because Sorokin looked horrible the other day. It's probably Varlamov. Anyways, thank you to all the fans, as always. We will be back on Wednesday at 7 p.m. as always, and Thursday. Tune in. And by the way, enjoy yourselves. Happy Halloween to all the fans out there. I'll be in Salem on Monday and Tuesday, enjoying all the crazy people over there. Hocus Pocus, Alamagocus. And I will be poofing and popping back on my wonderful broom back to the studios on Wednesday. Until then, this is Speedy Petey and the Big E saying good night. We'll talk to you then. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs?